The noble crown prince was carrying the veil, and gently putting the veil on the face of the girl beside him. Nangong Lian looked at the young man, who put the veil for her under the public's criticism. He was obviously younger than her, but he was gorgeous like God. Nangong Lian had to admit that she was moved at this moment, and a seed of friendship had taken root in her heart. The tender scene from the crown prince and the ugly girl made people puzzled, but no one dared to say anything. People have different comments. If you have a firm mind, you won't be sad even if you listen to more critic words. Shang Wuxin took back the hand and announced, "If you are not strong in mind, kill others directly by your identity. Why let yourself wronged?" Shang Wuxin's voice was really cold, but it was the most peaceful music in Nangong Lian's ears. Those nightmares that haunted her for so many years, and those real faces that she couldn't let go of were suddenly eliminated at this moment. After dressing Nangong Lian's veil well, Shang Wuxin looked at the maid kneeling on the ground and charged coldly, "Who give you the dare to plot against the people around me?" Nangong Lian was a special girl for Shang Wuxin. Although she didn't want to make friends with Nangong Lian, she couldn't allow others to calculate Nangong Lian, since Nangong Lian was brought here by her. Sorry, I'm too careless." The maid knelt on the ground and kowtowed incessantly. "Don't kill me. Please forgive me, honorable crown prince. Wuju, I hate those noise. Since this maid is so careless in her work, pull out her tongue carelessly." Shang Wuxin commanded coldly, but his words made the whole courtyard quiet. Everyone felt the cruelty of the crown prince this time. However, Nangong Lian was not afraid of Prince Shang. She was so moved that no matter what Prince Shang was like, he did this all for her. She had followed her brother for so long, and knew much more cruel thing her brother did. So she had been accustomed to this. Before the maidservant begged for mercy, her tongue was cut off by Wu Wei. Her blood flowed from her mouth all over the ground, where still lay her tongue. This cruel scene made several timid women shiver. Shang Wuxin gave a glimpse to the direction of Wanwan, and then shifted away as if nothing had happened. Wanwan felt cold when Shang Wuxin looked over at her, but she thought the prince had punished that servant girl, so that should be the end of this thing. Shang Wuxin didn't really intend to do anything about Wanwan at the beginning, but she didn't mind giving eye to eye since Wanwan had took the initiative to provoke her. Shang Wuxin turned to the people sitting lower part, and pointed to the fiercest woman, who just slandered Nangong Lian. She gently opened her pink lips as her steady and low voice slightly rose, which sounded demagogues. "Come here." The voice of Shang Wuxin rang in the ear. His delicate face was like white jade. The woman got up uncontrollably, and slowly came to Shang Wuxin's side. The blush on her face was more and more obvious. Her heart was beating faster and faster, and her eyes looking at the crown prince were more and more obsessed. "Come on, kill this maid." Shang Wuxin took the sword from Wu Ju and handed it to the woman. The woman, who was obsessed in looking at Shang Wuxin, suddenly woke up and shivered when she touched the cold long sword. The long sword fell to the ground immediately. She felt horrible looking the servant girl lying there, covering her mouth. All people on the seats, no matter men or women, murdered some life. The only difference was that these ladies never kill others by their own hand. So at this moment, the woman felt afraid, and didn't know what to do next with the long sword in her hand. Shang Wuxin turned a blind eye to the woman's frightened expressions. Wu Ju went up, took her long sword, and put it on the woman's hand again, holding her tightly. Although the woman struggled to refuse, how could she compare with the powerful Wu Ju? Wu Ju held the woman's hand, and pierced the maidservant's abdomen directly with the sword as blood squelched. The woman wanted to scream, but she was choked off. She could only watch her hand holding the long sword was moved into the body of the maid by Wu Ju behind her. Her face was splashed with fresh blood. She looked at the dead maid on the ground, dumbfounded at this moment. Wu Ju let go of the woman's hand, took back her long sword, and wiped it with a handkerchief behind Shang Wuxin, as if nothing had been done. But at this moment, no one dared to look down on this maid of Shang Wuxin. What was more, they became more afraid of the crown prince. Nangong Lian suddenly chuckled when everyone was frightened. Her voice was even more awfully soft. "Crown Prince, you are so kind to me." She sat slightly closer to Shang Wuxin while saying that but didn't touch Shang Wuxin. which let Leng Yufeng understand that Nanggong Lian didn't had an affection for Shang Wuxin, so he restrained himself to hurt her. Although, he was still uncomfortable watching Shang Wuxin so protective toward her. As expected, Nanggong Lian received many attentions of both fear and hate. Nanggong Lian gave Shang Wuxin an innocent look. She knew that her veil was pulled away by these women on purpose. She used to feel shame, but now she was courageous because of Shang Wuxin, who protected her and avenged her. Nanggong Lian felt that it didn't matter at present, even the whole world knew she was ugly, because her mind was now strong enough. At this time, people didn't notice that there was only one of the two maids following Shang Wuxin. No one paid attention to the maid behind the crown prince because of such things. Shang Chenjiao ordered servants to deal with the dead maids on the ground and felt really depressed. Originally, he planned to make Shang Wuxin lose his reputation, but now the situation might ruin his plan. Crown Prince, it's not clean here. Let's go to the garden. My garden is very beautiful, Shang Chenjiao said with a smile. If there was no obvious urgency in his eyes, he would really appear good. There he is. Shang Wuxin thought secretly and then nodded. All right. When they went to the garden, Wu Wei quietly returned to Shang Wuxin after a while of absence. Leng Yufeng, who noticed the reappearance of Wu Wei at Shang Wuxin's side, looked at this big mansion of the eldest prince coldly, with full understanding of what would happen. Just as they arrived at the garden, Shang Wuxin's clothes were splashed with stains, so Shang Chenjiao kindly made his concubine lead Shang Wuxin to clean up first. Looking at Shang Chenjiao's concubine slowly approach, Shang Wuxin didn't show any attitude about such a low plot. Crown Prince, please come with me. The concubine of Shang Chenjiao was dressed in a smoky blue dress, outlining a graceful and exquisite curve of her body. She looked good with fresh and elegant makeup. The most intriguing thing for Shang Wuxin was that the concubine's dress actually had a split extending to her hips. Her white and smooth legs were exposed clearly at her walking. With the surrounding landscape, she appeared to be kind of erotic. Shang Wuxin sighed in her heart. Was she seemed to be so lustful? What was more, even if she loved beauty, it couldn't be such a woman without brains. The most important thing was she was really a serious girl. So how could she, with the body of a female, if she really loved beauty? The concubine looked at the crown prince and felt nervous. She couldn't wait to have deep relationship with Shang Wuxin later. How many women dream to have such a gorgeous man as the crown prince? She might become the first woman of the crown prince. What was more, Shang Chenjiao had promised to her that she would be supported to become the princess as long as she had done this thing well. All of this made her excited. As soon as the soft voice of crown prince rang, Shang Wuxin got goosebumps all over. The concubine took out her handkerchief to wipe the stain on the crown prince's body. It was clear that the stain was on the hem, but the concubine put the handkerchief under the crown prince's abdomen and even lower part. The corner of Shang Wuxin's mouth began to twitch. Before Shang Wuxin threw away the concubine who was about to grope Shang Wuxin was slapped away by a gust of wind. It happened that the place where the concubine fell was in the lake of the eldest prince's garden. The concubine was still in a coma at this time, so it would not be long before she died totally. It was Leng Yufeng's who did this. At this time, Leng Yufeng, who wore a black robe, appeared to be ferocious and murderous. Actually, when Leng Yufeng saw Crown Prince was taken away by the concubine, he felt something wrong. After he caught up them, he saw that the woman wanted to touch Shang Wuxin. At that moment, Leng Yufeng felt that he wanted to kill not only the woman, but all the people in the mansion. Shang Wuxin stooped to pick up the handkerchief that concubine just dropped on the ground. Even if the concubine was not close to Shang Wuxin, she knew what would go on. Wu Ju and Wu Wei also came out from the dark, stood beside the Crown Prince and reported, Crown Prince, I've made clear about Shang Chenjian's plan that the concubine would drug you and intended to bring people to view the scene when Crown Prince raped his sister-in-law. Shang Chenjiao was trying to ruin the reputation of you. Not only did Wu Wei feel angry when she discovered Shang Chenjiao's scheme, but Leng Yufeng could not bear the anger, and he almost drew the soft sword out of the stealth at his waist. But he was held by another soft cold hand slightly. Leng Yufeng didn't dare to see it, But he knew that this hand belonged to the crown prince. As expected, he heard Shang Wuxin's voice. "Don't be impulsive, General Leng." Then she took back the hand. Leng Yufeng felt shocked and regretted. What if he had just grasped the hand of Shang Wuxin? The hand in Shang Wuxin's sleeve moved slightly. At that moment, she felt Leng Yufeng's strong killing intent. If she couldn't stop it, he would cause troubles in Shang Chenjiao's mansion today. She took Leng Yufeng's hand without thinking, but when she felt the man's temperature through her hands, she was still a little disgusted. If she hadn't contact with Leng Yufeng for some times, and knew he was really good for her, she was really afraid that she would constantly wipe her palms uncomfortably. "Have you brought the people?" Shang Wuxin asked Wu Wei. Since Shang Chenjiao wanted to insult her, how could she just wait and pretend nothing had happened? Originally, Shang Wuxin had grant Wu Wei right to punish Shang Chenjiao as she wanted, but Wu Wei just wanted his life in the end. As for the process of punishment, the crown prince was the real master. Yes, Wu Ju dragged a comatose woman from behind the rockery, who happened to be Miss Wanwan at the banquet. Shang Wuxin looked at the east side of the garden, where the young men and ladies were enjoying the flowers, and before long someone were coming near. Shang Wuxin and Leng Yufeng immediately flashed to the back of the rockery, hearing the coming footsteps of two people. "Is it done?" The voice of Shang Chenjiao was eager and excited. "Your Highness, the concubine has taken the crown prince away, and the filter on her handkerchief is very powerful. As long as the crown prince touches it, he will be crazy about sex. Just in a moment, Your Highness can take people to catch them on the spot." The householder of eldest prince's mansion reported. They had arranged for a long time, and finally attracted the crown prince to hear. "Nice, leave away first, and lead people to the concubine's yard later." The tone of Shang Chenjiao was urgent. If he was not afraid that his appearance would cause others suspicion, he would definitely lead people here by himself. Anyway, the housekeeper could do this as well. Behind the rockery, the faces of Shang Wuxin and Leng Yufeng were different. Shang Wuxin gave Wu Wei a meaningful eye and left with Leng Yufeng. Shang Chenjiao, the eldest prince, however, fell into a coma, because Wu Wei struck at his acupoint of sleeping after Shang Wuxin left. The handkerchief Shang Wuxin had just picked up was handed over to Wu Wei too. When Shang Wuxin and Leng Yufeng returned to their seats, Leng Yufeng asked, "Why not kill his directly?" Knowing Shang Chenjiao's calculation, Leng Yufeng thought it was right to kill him. Crown Prince was the peerless one, that even he has no heart to touch. How could he allow others insult Shang Wuxin? It'll cause too many troubles, and it's not the time. Shang Wuxin took out the handkerchief and answered Leng Yufeng casually, while wiping her hand, which had took the handkerchief. Looking at the Crown Prince's actions, Leng Yufeng suddenly remembered that the Crown Prince seemed to have touched him just now. His face was a little gloomy. He knew that much noble people like Shang Wuxin had obsession of cleanliness, but he didn't think that he was a dirty thing to Shang Wuxin too. "I'm not afraid of trouble. I'll kill the eldest prince for you," Leng Yufeng said firmly. He had never been impulsive to do things unruly, but now Leng Yufeng was not that cold-hearted general. He was just an ordinary man, who couldn't get response from his sweetheart. Aha, the straightforward Leng Yufeng made Shang Wuxin feel bright at once. "Don't be so serious, General Leng. Pass trivial things to subordinates." While they were talking, Wu Wei came back. There was a flash of satisfaction in Shang Wuxin's eyes. "Is everything done well?" There still lingered hate in Wu Wei's eyes, but she was really happy at this time. "Thank you, Crown Prince. All things have been dealt with. Although Shang Chenjiao has not died, it is more painful for him now." The Crown Prince once told them that death was not the most terrible thing. A living hell was more terrible than an easy death. So it was the best way for her to vent her hatred, and now she sort of revenged her sister. "What are you muttering about?" Nangong Lian came near and asked. They had disappeared together, and she couldn't find them. Now she was the only one who didn't know what they had done. It was really a bad feeling. Shang Wuxin didn't answer Nangong Lian, but got up and left. As she left, Leng Yufeng also left. Although people didn't understand why the Crown Prince left early, they didn't think much about it, because they thought they would watch a good play later. With that, how could they think too much about the early departure of the Crown Prince? After Shang Wuxin got on the carriage, Nangong Lian was about to get on the carriage too, but Leng Yufeng took the lead and warned Nangong Lian in a cold voice. I have something important to discuss with the Crown Prince. Please stay outside. Leng Yufeng went close to the carriage quickly when Nangong Lian was still stunned. Although Nangong Lian wanted to enter, she knew that Prince Shang was not a good-tempered one, and she had to admit that the last sight of the General Leng made her a little afraid. Leng Yufeng did not go directly in the carriage, but requested outside the curtain, Crown Prince. He believed that Crown Prince with powerful martial arts must have heard what he said. He did not know if the prince was angry to not let him in. Come in. Shang Wuxin's unique voice made Leng Yufeng happy secretly. However, when Leng Yufeng walked into the carriage and saw Shang Wuxin leaning against the wall of the carriage and looking at him with fun, Leng Yufeng suddenly felt embarrassed. He was reluctant to get off the carriage, but he felt uneasy and hot as the Crown Prince looked at him in this way. Even when the carriage started, Leng Yufeng still stood beside the curtain of the carriage and didn't come to sit. The Crown Prince, Shang Wuxin, sat there with his legs crossed and looked up at the man in black standing there, who seemed at a loss. General Leng? Shang Wuxin called him and broke the embarrassing silence. Leng Yufeng walked to the Crown Prince and sat down opposite to her. Then he puckered his lips and said, My wound needs a dressing change. Leng Yufeng couldn't find other excuse to stay here, but he really didn't want to leave. As the scenes that the Crown Prince bound up his wound suddenly came into his mind, Leng Yufeng was in a muddle and gave such a far-fetched reason. Hearing this, Shang Wuxin almost dropped the jade pendant in her hands, wondering that she had become a nurse. General Leng, you want me to change your dressing? Shang Wuxin said in an unidentifiable tone, without showing her mood. At the moment, Leng Yufeng felt nervous when he looked at the Crown Prince. Then he thought of the identity of the Crown Prince and realized that his words could make the Crown Prince angry. So, he stood up immediately. I've gone too far. Then he prepared to leave the carriage. Shang Wuxin looked at Leng Yufeng and thought he was interesting. Before Leng Yufeng left the carriage, Shang Wuxin said, General Leng is my savior, and dressing change should be my job. But why General Leng hurried to leave? Don't you want me to do that? Yes. Leng Yufeng replied immediately and returned to the seat quickly. Then he took off his coats fast and showed his strong chest, as if he was afraid that the Crown Prince would back out. If Shang Wuxin didn't see Leng Yufeng's red neck, she would think that General had become thick-skinned. Leng Yufeng took off his tops and waited for the Crown Prince to change the dressing for him. Although he felt embarrassed, he had to acknowledge that he loved this kind of feeling. Leng Yufeng, lowering his head, waited for a while, but the Crown Prince didn't approach him. As Leng Yufeng looked up, he blushed instantly. The Crown Prince was poking her pointed chin with her white fingers and staring at Leng Yufeng's strong but not extravagant chest with her deep eyes, which were full of appreciation for this beautiful body. Leng Yufeng tried to control his heartbeat but failed, and his face was getting more and more red, which made the Crown Prince feel very amused. Shang Wuxin felt like she was teasing a large canet, and she even thought that Leng Yufeng's averted eyes were so funny. Crown. While Leng Yufeng opened his mouth, he found that he stammered. Crown Prince, what happened to you? The young general who would take the lead when facing a large number of enemies. But at the moment, he seemed like an idiot who could barely speak. Shang Wuxin drew back her sight. She knew that if she went too far, the large canet would get angry. Shang Wuxin didn't believe that Leng Yufeng would hit her. What she didn't knew was no matter what she would do to him, Leng Yufeng wouldn't hurt her. Instead, he wanted the Crown Prince do something to him so badly. While Leng Yufeng was waiting for the Crown Prince's reply, instead of hearing her answer, he felt her approach. Then Leng Yufeng felt the clothes on his back were untied, and the medicine were applied on his wound. Only at this time did Leng Yufeng dare to look down at the Crown Prince obsessively. But he had to control his loving eyes for fear that Crown Prince would find something. Leng Yufeng looked at Crown Prince's eyelashes that were like butterflies jittering. He didn't find that the Crown Prince's lovely eyelashes were long and curly until he looked at her closely. Her eyelashes flapped up and down like feathers. Lung Yufeng found that his heart beat as her eyelashes vibrated, also happy about the strange feeling. However, because Shang Wuxin were close to Lung Yufeng, she could hear his heartbeats like thunder, but in an odd rhythm. As Shang Wuxin blinked her eyes, her eyelashes flapped, and more strangely the heartbeats throbbed. Shang Wuxin suddenly looked up at Lung Yufeng, and saw the obsession in his eyes that he hadn't withdrawn timely. Shang Wuxin was stunned, but when she scrutinized Lung Yufeng's eyes once again, they became as cool as usual. She lowered her head and continued to bind for him. Thanks for the good medicine. His wound were almost healed. Shang Wuxin had to acknowledge that the great physician's medicine was really helpful. Done. Shang Wuxin retracted her hands and sat opposite to Lung Yufeng. Your wound recovers well. It will heal soon after today's dressing change. Hearing that, Lung Yufeng felt lost and wished the wound on his back could rupture again. Thinking that he had no reasons to approach the crown prince since then, Lung Yufeng got a little anxious. After thinking for a while, Lung Yufeng asked tentatively, I am crown prince's teacher. Tomorrow, I will come to the mansion to teach you. Then, Lung Yufeng got off the carriage before the crown prince answered. Shang Wuxin looked at the slightly wobbling curtains with some contemplation, while Lung Yufeng, who just jumped out of the carriage, stood there looked at the back of the carriage, feeling annoyed, and wondered whether what he had just done would make the crown prince feel antipathy against him. Finally, Lung Yufeng decided he would go to the mansion of crown prince anyway. Shang Wuxin, sitting in the carriage, was practicing a new method that the chief Hai found for her. This method was of no help for her cultivation of martial arts, but it could cause the disorder of her pulse, which could make others unable to identify her gender. Shang Wuxin had practiced this method for many days, and she almost mastered it, so there was nothing to avoid when she contacted with others. When Shang Wuxin came back to the mansion of Crown Prince, Nangong Lian returned to her own court immediately, because she knew very well that Prince Shang didn't believe her. If she continued to stay there, she would be cold-shouldered. And she received the news that her brother would come to Shang State. When Shang Wuxin walked through the hall, she saw a sleepy teenager dozing off. Shang Wuxin looked at him carefully and recognized him that he was Lung Zisher, the younger brother of Lung Yufeng. As there were several empty teacups on the table, she guessed that Lung Zisher might have waited for her for a long time. Although he propped his head with his hands, his head drooped from time to time, because he was so sleepy. Obviously, he tried to open his eyes but failed, which made him look very cute. It was very hard to imagine that a boy could be more lovely than a girl. Wu Ju and Wu Wei, standing behind Shang Wuxin, also looked at the little boy, Lung Zisher, and a glimmer of smile flashed in their eyes. Both of them were young but experienced, and even when they were little girls, they were not as naive as him. Compared with them, who belonged to the dark world, Lung Zisher was a boy living in the sunshine. Looking at Lung Zisher, Shang Wuxin's cool eyes were covered with mist. She turned around and was about to leave. However, the sleepy boy woke up at this time, and ran to the crown prince, while his eyes hadn't yet fully opened. Your Highness, you are back. Lung Zisher stood in front of the crown prince, and blocked her way back to her resting palace. Shang Wuxin's fingers relaxed, but she still looked cool and serious, saying, Why child Lung came to mansion of crown prince? Shang Wuxin didn't become friendly or gentle because of the innocence and brightness of Lung Zisher. Lung Zisher stood close to the crown prince, and caught a pleasant scent from the crown prince's body, who smelled much better than his cousin. Lung Zisher also found that the crown prince was really good-looking. Although both his eldest brother and brother Huan were handsome men rarely seen, Lung Zisher thought that the crown prince's beauty was different from theirs, but he couldn't tell the difference. Well, Lung Zisher rubbed his hair shyly, winked his big eyes, and looked at the crown prince. I want to follow your highness. Lung Zisher considered for a while, afraid that the crown prince would reject him, so he explained firmly, I think that crown prince is a competent person rather than the kind of person as others describe. There are a lot of things that I want to study from your highness. I am not willing to be protected by others. Shang Wuxin looked at Lung Zisher. Her cold and indifferent eyes didn't show any kindness, but only ignorance and ruthlessness, which made Lung Zisher feel an urge to run away from here as fast as possible. Wu Wei and Wu Ju all thought that the crown prince wouldn't agree. After all, this kind of boys like Lung Zisha weren't suitable for this kind of life. What was more, Wu Wei and Wu Ju believed that the crown prince didn't have the kind heart to take in such a boy. But just when they thought the crown prince wouldn't agree, they heard Shang Wuxin spoke. Come here tomorrow. Shang Wuxin directly left after saying that. Both Wu Wei and Wu Ju felt confused about that. They glanced at Lung Zisha, who stood there stunned, before they left following the crown prince. Lung Zisha stood there and murmured like a lemon. I didn't expect he would agree. Crown prince is really a nice man. Authors off topic. Lung Yufeng. My crown prince, I was wounded. Come and apply medicine for me. Shang Wuxin. What did you say? I didn't hear you. Lung Yufeng. Shiner, I suffer pains. Don't you feel distressed? Look at me. How miserable I am. Come and help me apply medicine. Shang Wuxin. No, not at all. Lung Yufeng. It was all because of Shiner that I was wounded. Shang Wuxin, come here. Lung Yufeng came to her happily. Crown Prince. A voice reached Shang Wuxin's ears when she went back to her sleeping chamber and was about to sleep. It sounded that the person was really cheerful for something. Lying on the soft bed, Shang Wuxin replied in a thin, tired voice. What happened? She was always in a light sleep, and that was why she was easily roused. Even a small sound in the mansion would wake her up while she was sleeping during the light, which often made her feel toilsome. Crown Prince, I caught a snow fox in front of the gate. Now I bring it here to show to you. Chief Hai felt so satisfied with the screeching fox, which was trying to run into the sleeping chamber. As he knew that their crown prince was a girl and girls were always fond of this kind cute things. Chief Hai caught the small fox. As soon as he saw it in front of the crown prince mansion, he would give it to his crown prince as a present, and he believed Shang Wuxin would be happy for it. Fox. Snow fox. Shang Wuxin suddenly recalled the fox that she had met in the mountain of Fengzhou City. It was so cunning, and it seemed that it liked her pretty much. But she remembered that the fox was taken away by Yi. It never occurred to her that she would meet a snow fox again, as snow foxes were extremely rare. So many people hadn't seen one all their lives. Come in, answered Shang Wuxin. Meanwhile, the small fox suddenly got rid of Chief Hai's hands and jumped down, quickly running into the sleeping chamber. Chief Hai got astonished and followed it, as he was afraid that this little animal would scare the crown prince. As he got into the sleeping chamber, Chief Hai felt that he couldn't believe his eyes. The fox, which was really hard to catch, was lying beside the soft bed ingratiatingly. It stared at his young master with big, cute eyes, and kept making sound as if it was whining something. Chief Hai got surprised. The fox was so sensitive, and it was as smart as a kid. Crown Prince it. Shang Wuxin looked at the fox without any expression on his face. Chief Hai got confused, as he was not sure whether he should directly throw the fox out or pick it up and then release it. As she saw the snow fox, Shang Wuxin realized that the great Dr. Yi must have reached the capital city. By the way, the small fox was so clever that it could find the way to Crown Prince's mansion itself. Now that no one could recognize her gender by her pulse, Shang Wuxin felt it was necessary to meet the great doctor. You can withdraw now. It will be my pet from now on. Bid Shang Wuxin. It was possible that the small fox would be killed by her subordinates if she didn't tell them clearly, and she would be definitely in trouble when the great doctor came to meet her if that really happened. Chief Hai was a bit amazed by the response. It was true that girls would like the cute snow fox, and their crown prince was no exception, but he couldn't help feeling it unbelievable that Shang Wuxin would really keep it. After all, how could people believe that an atrocious person like their crown prince would be interested in such a cute thing? Nevertheless, Chief Hai was gratified for that, as his crown prince finally had a girlish hobby. He was always worried that his crown prince would get used to treating herself as a real man. When Chief Hai walked out of the sleeping chamber, the snow fox stretched out its hind legs and tried jumping into the soft bed. However, Shang Wuxin pushed it away before it could make it. The snow fox fell on the ground and then got up bitterly. Shang Wuxin knew that the snow fox was really smart, so she said in a stern tone, "You're dirty." The snow fox pointed at itself with its claw to tell Shang Wuxin that it was clean. His master threw it into water and let it wash itself every day, so it should be cleaner than any other animals. But Shang Wuxin paid no attention to its explanation. She certainly knew the snow fox was clean, and she could even smell the special fragrance of herbs. It was because the snow fox had stayed with Wuxia for a long time that it could be smelt like this. At first, Shang Wuxin simply thought Wuxia would not keep the small thing, as he seemed to be indifferent to everything. But to her surprise, Wuxia kept it and raised it so well. As for Wuxia, he saved the fox only for its blood at the beginning, and he agreed to keep it only because of Shang Wuxin. He could feel that the fox liked her, and so did he. "If you kept making noise, I will throw you out." Shang Wuxin closed her eyes and warned. The little fox slightly opened its mouth, and immediately closed it after hearing these words. Seeing the crown prince close her eyes, it slowly walked to the soft bed. The crown prince seemed not aware of its approaching, so the snow fox got more fearless and kept climbing into the soft bed. As soon as it was intended to get into the warm arms, which it had desired for a long time, the crown prince opened her eyes. Seeing that made the small fox fell down to the ground from the soft bed. When it picked itself up and averted its eyes to the soft bed, it saw the crown prince close her eyes again, as she was sleeping again. But now the small fox had learned the lesson, and dared not to crawl to the soft bed a second time. It didn't notice that a smile curved the young prince's lips. At the same time, a man in white stood silently in the quiet yard of his house in the capital city. He knitted his eyebrows as he just found that the little animal had run away, but a smile then appeared on his face. It occurred to him that it had been a long time since he met the young man, who left a good impression to him before, so the little animal must have gone to find her. Yi Yix put away all the herbs, thinking about the snow fox's abnormal behavior these days. It always gazed at him, and it was obvious that it wanted him to take it to see the crown prince. He didn't know the reason why he would follow its mind, and really took it to the capital city. Since they arrived here, Wuxia had been busy in arranging his herbs and dealing with his business in the capital city, so he got no chance to see the crown prince. In contrast, the small fox seemed to be too impatient to wait a minute more. Wuxia didn't realize that it was him who released the small fox on purpose. If he didn't do that, how could the small fox get out of the yard without his permission? "Shoo!" called Wuxia, and then a man who looked really smart walked in. He didn't get close to Wuxia and just lowered his head asking, "Master, what can I do for you? I have something to do these days. Take care of the business for me." As he finished his words, Wuxia kept arranging his herbs. Xiaozhu stared at his master curiously. Though he had a lot of questions to ask, he knew that his master would not answer him. In this case, he left the place quietly, wondering what happened to his master. Wuxia usually spent all his time on herbs and business, so did he find anything more interesting now? The day was just a peaceful day for Shang Wuxin. But things are totally different in the mansion of Eldest Prince. That day all people came into the backyard of Eldest Prince's mansion with the guide of the butler. To their astonishment, they happened to witness the scene that the Eldest Prince raped Mississippi Wanwan. The girl was not the kind of weak girl at all. She got so furious that she cut the Eldest Prince's most important thing as a man in turn. That meant the Eldest Prince would be a eunuch in the following days. The Eldest Prince couldn't be more painful and angry. He directly killed the girl called Wanwan in front of all the guests regardless of what would happen after that. Though all of these people knew that it was risky to see such things, they still spread the news to the public. When Shang Wuxin woke up the next day, almost all people in the capital city were discussing the event that the Eldest Prince raped a young lady and killed her after losing his special thing in his crotch. Furthermore, so many officers had written their memorials to the throne to impeach the Eldest Prince, and General Lung was one of them. It nearly reached noon when Shang Wuxin woke up. Wu Ju and Wu Wei had been standing outside the sleeping chamber for a whole morning, without complaining a little bit. Beside them, a man stood in the yard of the sleeping chamber too, and he had also been standing there for almost a whole morning. "Come in." The voice showed that Shang Wuxin was not in a good mood now as she didn't sleep well last night. Wu Wei and Wu Ju quickly walked in as soon as they got the order. Lung Yufeng, who had been waiting there for a morning, felt so wistful though it was just one night that had passed. The most important thing was that the crown prince's voice was not only cold, but also somewhat soft at the moment. Lung Yufeng turned around and fixed his eyes on the chamber. He really hoped that he could get into it and help Crown Prince change clothes. It was the first time that Lung Yufeng had admired the two maids. As Shang Wuxin got out of bed and washed herself, she walked out of the sleeping chamber, and then saw the man in black standing in the yard. His face was well-featured, but gave people a feeling of coldness. His eyebrows were straight, and no warmth could be seen in his deep dark eyes. He stood there still, like a cold and arrogant eagle, making a warning that no one was allowed to get close to him. But the arrogant eagle instantly became a big docile dog, as he saw the Crown Prince walk out of the sleeping chamber. Crown Prince! Lung Yufeng extended respect to her and greeted. If Shang Wuxin listened to his words carefully, she would discover that his tone was bright, which was totally different as usual. Shang Wuxin nodded and politely asked, "General Lung, have you had your breakfast yet? Would you like to have breakfast with me?" Wu Wei moved her lips. She took one look at the sun of the noon, wanting to remind the Crown Prince that General Lung had been waiting here for a morning. So how could he haven't had breakfast? However, Wu Wei got more shocked when she heard Lung Yufeng seriously say, "That's a good idea. I'm pretty glad to have breakfast with you, my prince." When they stepped into the hall to have meals, they saw Chief Hai got here with a man too. Shang Wuxin was not surprised when she saw the man. But it was not the same with Lung Yufeng. "Crown Prince, brother." Lung Zisher paid simple respect. Actually, he was supposed to get here earlier today, but his cousin had something to do with him in the morning, so he was delayed for that. Seeing his brother, who was always unimportant to him, made Lung Yufeng frown. He put down the chopsticks in his hand and asked, "Why are you here?" Lung Zisher was no more than a nominal brother to him, so they didn't meet each other frequently, and there was no family affection between them. But now Lung Yufeng felt something unexpected might have happened, since his brother appeared in Crown Prince's mansion. He was also not clear about the time when Lung Zisher changed his objective to the Crown Prince, as he always tried to get along well with Lung Tiantian before. Lung Zisher felt a bit scared in his heart when he saw his brother having meals with Crown Prince. And he just found that the atmosphere around them seemed to be pretty good. Lung Zisher gritted his teeth and said determined, "Brother, I don't want to stay at our mansion without doing anything meaningful. I want to follow Crown Prince and make some outstanding achievements." "Nonsense." Lung Yufeng wanted to thump on the table, but he finally suppressed himself as Shang Wuxin was still having breakfast now. He would never mind if Lung Zisher bothered someone else. He even didn't care whether his brother was alive or dead. However, he was afraid that Shang Wuxin would complain about him if his brother disturbed her peaceful life. Lung Zisher opened his eyes wide in fear after hearing what his brother said, and then he turned his sight to the Crown Prince. Shang Wuxin just had her breakfast as if nothing happened, which made Lung Zisher stunned. He never thought that it could be so enjoyable to see the Crown Prince having meals. As Shang Wuxin cast a glance at Lung Yufeng, he quickly calmed himself down and said nothing more, picking up his chopsticks to keep eating. They sat there silently, but their atmosphere was still good. Lung Yufeng tried his best to remember the Crown Prince's favorite food. He was quite satisfied with this lunch. After Shang Wuxin put down his chopsticks and took the handkerchief to clean her hands, she looked at Lung Zisher who was standing there and asked, "What's the time?" Lung Zisher didn't get the point at all and kept standing there. "It's already noon." Now Lung Yufeng realized that Shang Wuxin had really kept his brother, but it couldn't be as simple as it seemed to be. The Crown Prince could do whatever she wanted, and if his brother did anything wrong he would. Lung Yufeng's eyes gradually got clawed. "You can go now." Shang Wuxin stood up and said to Lung Zisher. Lung Zisher got numbed with the words. He suddenly dropped to his knees and begged, "Crown Prince, I'm late because there is something urgent. I beg your forgiveness." Lung Zisher firmly believed that he couldn't leave Crown Prince's mansion, and he couldn't be away from Shang Wuxin. He stayed at her side only because of his cousin at first, but now things had changed. "General Lung, what do you think I should do now?" questioned Shang Wuxin. leaving the problem to Leng Yufeng. Seeing his brother begging there, Leng Yufeng still kept his eyesight cold. Then he said to Shang Wuxin, "According to the rule, my brother should be hit 20 times with wood stick for what he has done. If Leng Zisher was in the military camp now, the punishment would be more serious. But Leng Zisher had never received any martial arts training, so he would die if the punishment was too severe." Leng Yufeng could see that Shang Wuxin didn't want to kill Leng Zisher now. Brother. Though Leng Zisher was just a son of a concubine, he still led a good life. No one had hit him, and he hardly got abused for something. Obviously, Leng Yufeng didn't care what he just said, so he averted his eyes to Shang Wuxin calling, "Crown Prince. You can get out of here if you can't bear it," uttered Shang Wuxin impatiently. Then she waved her hand to let Chief Hai take him away, and added that it would be okay as long as he was not hit to death. Leng Yufeng thought for a while and asked, "Crown Prince, why do you allow my brother to follow you?" Well, instead of answering his question, Shang Wuxin asked in turn, "General Leng, do you treat him as your true brother? I just think I should take your feeling into account when I make decisions." Even if the Crown Prince didn't care him at all, and did all these things for her own benefit, her words still made Leng Yufeng feel sweet in his heart. The family affection in the general mansion is rare. "Just do whatever you want, my Crown Prince." Shang Wuxin nodded in satisfaction, but before she could give a response, something white came into the hall. Leng Yufeng quickly got in front of Shang Wuxin and gazed at the strange white thing. Meanwhile, Shang Wuxin's mind got suddenly blank as she saw the man in front of her. The little fox wanted to get into the Crown Prince's arms, but its neck was held by a man who looked so cold. The small fox angrily cried and opened its mouth to bite the man. "Stop it now." The little fox was scolded before it revenged. It knew clearly who was abusing it. The fox turned its eyes to Crown Prince piteously, but found that the crown just had no pity on it at all. Leng Yufeng released the small fox. Actually, Leng Yufeng had prepared to take actions when the small fox tried biting him at the beginning. But he didn't do that because he had figured out that the small fox should be Crown Prince's pet, as it could enter the mansion freely. "Is it your pet, Crown Prince?" Leng Yufeng still felt it a bit unbelievable. He couldn't understand the reason why this kind of soft fox would become her pet. However, he also felt that it would be a good thing if Crown Prince had such a funny thing beside him. After all, she was always alone. "Crown Prince." Chief Hai ran to Shang Wuxin in a hurry and said, "There is an imperial edict. Prince Qian of Nangong State comes to visit our country. His Majesty asks you to welcome him now." Shang Wuxin nodded in acknowledgement. After all, Nangong Lian had bid her farewell, and told Shang that her brother would pick her up. Shang Wuxin knew that Prince Qian had come to this country. She originally thought that he would leave as he picked his sister, and didn't expect it that he would make a visit so publicly. "I will go after changing my dress. General Leng, just go with me." Shang's state was affluent and peaceful. The capital city was even more prosperous. At the gate of the capital, Crown Prince in white and General Leng in black were sitting on two high horses with a guard team, and some officials standing behind them. In the distance, they saw two carriages coming, which as one could recognize even far away were made of Phoebe exquisitely, showing an extravagant and lavish scene, not to mention the imperial bodyguards with sonorous steps following them. It could tell at one's first sight that the subordinates of this Prince Qian were well trained. When the carriages stopped nearby Shang Wuxin, she nodded to them, "Welcome, Prince Qian. You must be tired after such a long trip." It's comfortable of her plain words without any complicated or tentative expression. "Crown Prince, I have heard of your illustrious name for a long time." The voice of a man came from the carriage, which was like the most melodious tweedle in the world. The sudden stifling pressure came to everyone along with the light voice, but the pressure disappeared immediately, as if it never came up. Even so, no one dared to underestimate Prince Qian. While Shang Wuxin seemed to feel nothing of the pressure, Nangong Qian in the carriage opened the curtain slightly and looked at Prince Shang sitting on the horse. He came to Shang's state this time to take back his younger sister. In case there would be any accidents, he came himself, and planned to get back directly as soon as he found his sister. However, he found that she was different. She was more strong-minded and unperturbed than before. She was fearless to open the veil in public with confidence and vitality, which made Nangong Qian delighted and puzzled. After he asked her, she told him everything that happened since she met Prince Xiang. Nangong Qian was a little curious about this crown prince, after hearing his sister's narration. His sister was the only family member of him in this world. Because of his thoughtless protection in her childhood, she was disfigured by the wicked people, which made him guilty all along. But he was an ineloquent guy but just could give a little more attention to her, even if she was his younger sister. As a result, she was quite unsociable. Now this crown prince not only saved her, but also opened her mind. Anyhow, Nangong Qian had been much obliged, although he was clear that this crown prince's real intention was not good. But what did it matter? Nangong Qian had already known from his sister that crown prince was an exceedingly handsome boy, who had his advantages as Nangong. Although Nangong Qian had never cared his appearance, he knew he was one of the best in the continent judging from the praises of other people. Even though he had had the preparation already, he was still surprised by Prince Xiang's beauty at the first sight. Prince Xiang was elegant with the perfect features, which was not coquettish, but as noble and graceful as the saussuria beside the cliff. He appeared uniquely prettier in the midday sun with a smile hanging on the corners of his pink lips. He was cool, flawless, and as amazing as a fairy in the picture even if just lying quietly. Nangong Qian's heart missed a beat not for the young boy's appearance, but for his eyes. He had the bottomless eyes with indifference and alienation, where no sunlight could shine in. Nangong Qian had no idea about love at first sight at this moment. But he understood in the years ahead that his heart had sunk as soon as he looked at the eyes at the first time. The struggle after that just made him fall deeper and deeper. Crown Prince, the sun is burning outside. Let's have a talk in the carriage. Nangong Lian in a veil opened the curtain and said with a smile, which attracted Shang Wuxin's eyes that were meant to look at Nangong Qian. Nangong Lian always felt that Prince Xiang was very kind when seeing him. He was obviously not a good guy, but he was the best in her heart. If she couldn't confirm that her feelings for him was not affection, she would mistakenly think that she had fallen in love with him. Everybody looked different after hearing Nangong Lian words. Females were not harshly shackled in this continent, but they were still requested to be missish and obedient, and the position of them was very low. Now a princess was inviting the crown prince of another country to come into her carriage in public. However, everybody looked at Prince Xiang ambiguously. After all, it was the invitation from a beauty. Generally, no man would refuse it. Leng Yufeng knew who she was when he saw Nangong Lian. He was much more displeased with her shameless action under such circumstances. Nonetheless, he still looked at the crown prince stubbornly and wanted to know what he would do. Shang Wuxin looked at the naughty Nangong Lian. She knew that she didn't mean it maliciously, but she was the crown prince of her state. She was afraid that she might need to marry her if they stayed too close. She had no intention to get married for the moment. Besides, Nangong Lian's brother was here. Shang Wuxin did not want to get herself into troubles. However, Nangong Qian couldn't bear it any longer before Shang Wuxin's refusal. Nangong Qian always knew that his younger sister defied trivial conventions. He didn't care it before, but now he was a little discontented with her action. Her reputation was still very important after all. My sister is right. Please enter our carriage to have a talk with me, Crown Prince. Nangong Qian said and glanced at Nangong Lian. She shrank her neck with fear and went back to the carriage. It was true that her brother was nice to her, but he was always as strict as a father. She dared not to be disobedient most of the time, as she knew how cold-blooded her brother was. She ever thought if this cold-blooded brother would become warm someday. Shang Wuxin looked at this legendary Prince Qian. He was sitting in the carriage with his hand holding the curtain, which couldn't prevent her from seeing his appearance clearly. He was in a white-edged purple robe, without any other decoration or pattern. With the cool temperament showing obviously on his face, he was not very accessible. His pitch-black hair was tied back with a hairpin simply, which was like the fine silks with a wisp hanging on the chest. And the part behind him was quite straight, which reached his waist. On his indifferent face, It was the perfect appearance with the deep introverted and sharp eyes, prominent and handsome nose, tight and thin lips, which made him aggressive and exclusive as the Wolf King in the wild. Shang Wuxin felt they were the same kind of person just after a glance. This guy was cold-blooded, and she had no heart. She looked this Prince Qian in the eye, and thought that they would lose at both sides if they were enemies. Shang Wuxin had to sigh with emotions. The environment in the ancient times was really good for the people. It seemed that all the influential men she met were with good looks. Even though she was careless for the appearance, who didn't like beautiful people? The bodyguard driving the carriage outside was somewhat surprised. After all, Prince Qian had never invited anyone to enter his carriage except Princess. Prince Shang was able to be highly valued by his lord, which was also the ability of this crown prince. Shang Wuxin was planning to refuse them, but Leng Yufeng beside her said, "You are in poor health, crown prince, you'd better enter the carriage." Leng Yufeng did this, as he thought that the guy in the carriage posed no threat anyhow. And the sun was burning hard, which was okay for him, but Crown Prince's face had been reddened by the sun. He was not willing to see it. However, throughout the coming years, he really regretted doing this today, and thought himself was an idiot. The moment Shang Wuxin was trying to refuse, she felt the evil spirit around Nangong Qian. He was the first one that Nangong Qian invited to his carriage, but this Prince Shang was a little reluctant. Nangong Qian felt uncomfortable, no matter from the face or deep in his heart. Generally, those people who made Nangong Qian uncomfortable would not have any good end. Shang Wuxin also felt itchy on her face because of the burning sun. So she went into the carriage after telling something to Leng Yufeng. Other people started to move forward to the imperial palace after she entered the carriage. Nangong Qian smelled the light fragrance of flower and fruit as soon as Prince Shang entered the carriage. No one knew he had a sharp sense of smell, so he couldn't bear any peculiar smell most of the time. He threw his eyes on Prince Shang, and couldn't understand why this guy smelled sweeter than his sister. If not for the sweetness, he would throw him off the carriage. Shang Wuxin could feel the ferocious spirit around this man as soon as she entered the carriage. Everybody would be careful to stay with this kind of man, and afraid that he might kill you anytime. The feeling he gave her was too dangerous. It was still a long way to the palace. Shang Wuxin was a little boring, so she picked up a book on the carriage and read it. It was a unique copy about military organization and battlefield. She read it carefully, but she didn't know that a conscientious man was the most attractive. Nangong Qian got this book by chance, and he often read it as it was a good book. Now he was trapped at the page with something he didn't understand. He didn't stop Prince Shang when seeing him pick it up, but felt a little surprised when Prince Shang turned over the page that he didn't understand. The higher position the people was in, the more they appreciated the strong. Now Nangong Qian was appreciating this crown prince. To put aside the crown prince's kindness for saving his sister, both the temperament and the appearance, as well as the literary attainment of this boy, were appreciated by Nangong Qian. He was cold-blooded but not self-conceited. He asked Shang Wuxin, "Crown Prince Shang, can you understand everything?" Shang Wuxin nodded and continued to read. Nonsense. Why she kept reading if she couldn't understand? Hearing that Prince Shang could understand everything, Nangong Qian stretched out his hand and tried to take the book to have a discussion with the prince. But he didn't expect that Shang Wuxin was planning to avoid when seeing his hand. As a result, Nangong Qian's hand didn't touch the book, but held the white little hands of this young boy. Nangong Qian got suddenly stunned. It was the first time that he had ever held a man's hand. Actually, he had never held anyone else's hand before, not even a girl's. Of course he had done that to his sister when she was a little girl, but it never happened again when they grew up. Gazing at the hand which was seized by him, Nangong Qian had to admit that it was really beautiful. The hand was white and delicate. The thin fingers looked like bamboo shoots in spring, and their round tops were so cute. Compared with the hand, all those ancient books that had ever been in his hands lost their attraction. Nangong Qian got a bit blank in his mind, and then he suddenly came up with an idea that he would hold the hand forever. The thought passed his mind so quickly that he didn't realize that he could have such an idea at the moment. The most important thing was that Nangong Qian was a sensitive man. He had noticed that the hand of the crown prince was strange. It was smaller than half of his big hand, and it was too soft, which made it look more like a girl's. Nangong Qian quickly moved his hand over Crown Prince Shang's wrist to feel her pulse. At the beginning, Shang Wuxin just instinctively wanted to get out of the way, as she felt that Nangong Qian was about to take the book. To her surprise, Nangong Qian held her hand instead of the book by accident. As Shang Wuxin tried pulling back her hand, she found that Nangong Qian intended to feel her pulse. Shang Wuxin knew clearly that though she tried hard to pretend herself to be a man, she was actually not. Her height was just a good example. It was good enough for a girl, but she was too short when she stood beside a man like Leng Yufeng. These men around her were much taller than her. Furthermore, she didn't have Adam's apple, which was a distinct difference. And her body, especially her shoulder, was too emaciated, making her look not only weak but also effeminate. Finally, her wrists were too thin and her hands were too small. People would not notice it since they normally didn't pay attention to it. But now it was pretty obvious, comparing with the big hand of Nangong Qian. Shang knew that Nangong Qian was always suspicious. If she didn't take measures to dispel his doubt, she would be in trouble soon. Fortunately, Shang Wuxin had mastered the method to hide her pulse and blur her gender. Generally, though these martial artists were not good at feeling the pulse, but they could still distinguish the gender of a person. Since he was so confused, Nangong Qian subconsciously felt the pulse of Crown Prince Shang. It was disordered, but Nangong Qian was convinced that Crown Prince Shang was a man. Realizing that, Nangong Qian naturally recalled the rumor about the Crown Prince. It was said that Shang Wuxin had lived mainly on medicine since he was born. Nangong Qian didn't believe it before, and thought that Crown Prince Shang just pretended to be like this to confuse people. But now he began to believe it. The young man in front of him was so emaciated, and her hands were not only small but cold. Thinking about the complex condition of the empire made Nangong Shang feel a bit pity for the young man. Seeing the obscure emotion in his eyes, Shang Wuxin got a bit impatient. She moved her wrist, which was held tightly, and coldly said in a dissatisfied voice, "When will you release me, Prince Qian?" Nangong Qian's mind was filled with thinking of the small hand. As he heard those words, he quickly averted his eyes and slightly released Shang Wuxin. No one noticed that his ear tips had been red, and the hand behind him became a bit still in a sudden. It was until Nangong Qian withdrew his hand that Shang Wuxin could set her mind at ease. She had never received such enormous pressure because of a man. Neither Han Xuanhao nor Leng Yufeng had ever made her feel so stressed, but Nangong Qian just did it. He was so smart. It didn't mean that the others are not as smart as him, but he paid too much attention to the interest, which made him a really difficult person to deal with. And he was just the same kind of person as she. The carriage got suddenly quiet. Nangong Qian felt embarrassed and asked, "How to do with it?" Shang Wuxin turned her eyes to the page that Nangong Qian pointed at. It concerned arms arrangement, and Shang Wuxin had ever read this kind of books, so she knew it well. She didn't keep the methods as secrets. Instead, she told them to Nangong Qian directly. Both of them were extremely intelligent people, and they couldn't stop talking with each other later. They shared their opinions about arms arrangement and admired each other deeply in their hearts. They gradually felt that it would be much better if they could meet each other earlier. For the first time in his life, Nangong Qian felt that he met a man who was congenial to him. It was true that so many people were equal to be his opponents, such as General Leng of the Shang state. But now, as he had met Crown Prince Shang, he couldn't help feeling that it would be a great pity if she became his enemy. "Crown Prince, thanks so much for helping my sister." Though they had a hot discussion just now, both of them were inarticulate people, so they actually didn't talk too much. As Shang Wuxin put down the book, Nangong Qian then said these words. He was not intended to talk about it, and they were not supposed to make any promise to the others. "Crown Prince Shang, I will help you whenever you need," promised Nangong Qian. He was surprised by what he just said. Shang Wuxin simply nodded and didn't refuse. She saved Nangong Lian not only for her beautiful face. Actually, she had her own purpose. Now that Nangong Qian had expressed his thanks, Shang Wuxin would definitely accept it. And she believed that she deserved it. As the carriage was running on the road, a girl jumped in. Nangong Qian didn't stop the person, and so did Shang Wuxin. Because the girl was no other than the 5th princess of Nangong State, Nangong Lian. What are you talking about? Nangong Lian got into the carriage, and found that they seemed to be talking about something. She felt so curious as her brother didn't like to talk with others, unless he had business to deal with. As his sister, her brother would talk with her only after she talked too much to him. Shang Wuxin didn't reply her words and Nangong Qian didn't give a response too. He loved his sister, but he never spoiled her. He thought that a rational man would not give up his principles to spoil someone. But as so many years had passed, he would realize that it was all because he didn't meet the right person. Once he met her, he would completely lose his principles. Crown Prince Shang, will you attend the banquet tonight? Asked Nangong Lian. It was ordinary that Nangong Lian would have such a question. She had stayed at Crown Prince Mansion for such a long time, and noticed that Crown Prince Shang seldom attended banquets or poem parties. People's life in the ancient time was pretty boring, so they had lots of banquets to make it more pleasant. They would have 7 or 8 banquets in a month, which played an important role in amusing themselves and increasing people's connection. However, Shang Wuxin was not interested in attending these banquets at all, and the former crown prince just did the same thing with her. Though there were massive rumor about Crown Prince Shang, not many people had ever seen her in person. Shang Wuxin nodded. She had no other options as her father had asked eunuch Su to pass his words to her. And today she came alone to welcome Nangong Qian. It was obvious that her father was helping her to improve her status as crown prince. Shang Wuxin knew his intention, so she would not give up the chance. In order to avoid monitor of some people, Shang Wuxin didn't choose the bustling main road though she was welcoming the lord of Nangong State. Instead, she chose a quieter street. However, something unexpected still happened there. Beside the street, a strong man was chasing a girl in white. The girl running ahead in terror. Seeing the girl approaching the carriage, Lung Yufeng, along with several guards, showed no compassion and stopped her directly. Their swords were pointed at the girl in white, and the strong man behind her. "Who are you?" scolded Lung Yufeng in a cold tone. He had to keep cautious, as the most dangerous risk always hid behind a small thing. The girl didn't pay any attention to the weapons. She just dropped to her knees and began kowtowing to the carriage saying, "Crown Prince, save me. Save me please." She kowtowed again and again, making a horrifying sound as her forehead crashed the ground. Shang Wuxin looked so attractive as she rolled her eyes to think something, which was caught by Nangong Qian. He suddenly realized that Shang Wuxin's eyes were so beautiful that he could hardly breathe smoothly, and his heart was influenced too. Shang Wuxin nodded to Nangong Qian, and Nangong Lian explaining, "Prince Qian, Princess, excuse me. I need to go out now, so I can't go to the place with you." Nangong Lian waved her hands to show that she didn't mind it at all. Nangong Qian held the same attitude saying, "It doesn't matter. I can wait you here and then go with you." He subconsciously didn't want to leave Shang Wuxin here. The more important thing was that if Shang Wuxin didn't go back with them, as she was supposed to accompany Prince Qian, she would be punished severely for that. Thinking the dangerous condition of the Empire Palace that Shang Wuxin had to face, Nangong Qian recalled what he faced before. So he set his mind to help Crown Prince Shang. When Crown Prince Shang walked out of the carriage, Nangong Lian said to her brother, "Brother, look. Isn't Crown Prince Shang great?" The most intelligent person in Nangong Lian's mind was no longer her brother, but Crown Prince Shang now. Nangong Lian didn't expect getting response from her brother, but she still heard what her brother said. "Yes, he is great." Nangong Lian knew that Crown Prince Shang was a good person, so she jokingly murmured, "If only Crown Prince Shang were a girl. I always thought that no one could match you, brother." But now Crown Prince Shang appeared. What a pity that he was a man. Nangong China had been 24 years old. In the past years he buried himself in finding methods to survive in the Empire Palace. As he became powerful enough, he paid all his attention to get more territories in Nangong State. There was no girl in Nangong Qian's life. He had no concubine at his side. No one dared to talk about it in fear of his temper and style of doing things. The most important thing was that Nangong Qian was extremely cruel and merciless. A girl had ever tried to seduce him but failed. Then Nangong Qian gave her to his guards as a reward, and the beautiful girl was finally tossed to death. Nangong Qian was a normal man, but it seemed that there was no connection between him and love affairs. He was a cold-blooded person. Girls, except his sister, were nothing but trouble for him. He had never thought about having a son to carry on his family line, because his heart was filled with his ambition. As he listened to his sister's words, Nangong Qian felt that his heart moved, and there seemed to be something different. Most of the time, people didn't need to have a reason to fall in love with someone. And now what Nangong Lian said really caused waves in his heart. Even though it was not a big thing, it would last in his heart all his life. Shang Wuxin got out of the carriage. As soon as he saw Shang Wuxin walking out, Leng Yufeng quickly got down from his horse and stood at her side. Seeing the man who always stood at her side whenever she needed, Shang Wuxin got moved. Leng Yufeng didn't talk too much, but he never flinched. Shang Wuxin thought that no matter what happened in the future, she would give Leng Yufeng great wealth. But at the moment she didn't realize that the man beside her was not interested in wealth. He simply desired for a person who was special for him. Shang Wuxin didn't get close to the girl. She just stood at a distance, being protected by her guards, gazing at the girl who was keeping kowtowing. Though it was hard to see the girl's face clearly, most people showed sympathy for her, as she did this in spite of ruining her face and getting hurt. Shang Wuxin stood there staring at her for a while and slowly uttered, "Do you know me?" Hearing voice, the girl quickly raised her head. The girl wore a pink yarn dress, looking slim and graceful. The jewelry on her body made crisp sound, and the girl looked more cute and appealing with it. Sorrow could be seen between her eyebrows. Along with the horrible blood on her forehead, it made people feel pity for the girl. "Yes, I have seen you, Crown Prince," answered the girl obediently, kneeling on the ground. But Shang Wuxin had no intention to ask another question. Leng Yufeng was aware that his crown prince was not interested in that girl, so he stepped forward querying with serious voice, "What's your true purpose of stopping Crown Prince?" What he said was so powerful as Leng Yufeng was a general who had killed so many people. The girl's face suddenly turned to be pale because of fear. I just have no way to go." The girl sobbed and said, "Both of my mother and father died, so I had no one to rely on. I just wanted to sell myself, and then I could get some money to bury my father. Crown Prince, I'm an innocent girl. I just wanted to be a servant. But the man not only grabbed me to be his attendant concubine, but gave no payment. He even wanted to discard my father's corpse on the street. I couldn't persuade him, and tried to resist. He got angry, and then threw my father's body." The girl suddenly burst into tears as she said these words. My father was finally thrown into the mass graves, and was eaten by beasts. All people around the place sighed for the girl's miserable past, and glared at the man behind her. Most people were just like this. Even though they didn't offer help themselves, they would regard themselves as the righteous. "So?" asked Shang Wuxin indifferently. As the girl saw that the crown prince was not moved at all, she cried more bitterly, saying, "I have escaped from him, and have no way to go. But I'm so lucky to see you, Crown Prince. Please save me. I will do whatever I can to repay you." Finishing her words, the girl kept kneeling. Though the road was quiet, it didn't mean that there was no people here. Some people had gathered here for the moment. Leng Yufeng felt a bit worried, because it would hurt the Crown Prince's good reputation. However, Leng Yufeng didn't think Shang Wuxin should save the girl in his heart. Well, Shang Wuxin played her jade pendant, which was hung on her waist, questioning in a playful way. "Why do you think I will save you? After all, it's a good choice for you to be the man's concubine. Now that you have lost your parents, you can still rely on him." Some people thought the same way with their crown prince. Since all women relied on men at that time, it was a really good choice for the girl to be a concubine. "No," the girl immediately refused. "I'm a pure girl from an innocent family, and I just want to find a reliable man to marry. I know you are a good man, Crown Prince. You have saved so many people in Fengzhou City. Please, Crown Prince. I don't want to marry him. I just want to live a simple and pure life." "You bitch. It's your pleasure to be my concubine. How dare you say these words to Crown Prince? Listen, Crown Prince would not protect you today. The man said so many dirty words and kept hitting the girl. Kill him, Shang Wu kit her eyebrows and said. As soon as he got the order, Lung Yufeng quickly got close to the man who was talking dirty words and killed him with one palm. Lung Yufeng did it so quickly, and so many people hadn't realized what just happened. When they saw that the man had already been killed, they felt so scared. After all, the general's legendary name was well earned. But now so many people knew that it was Crown Prince Shang who gave the order. The Crown Prince looked gracious and weak, but his behavior made people realize that he was totally different from what he looked like. Thanks for saving my life. I'm willing to be your servant to repay you, the girl said in a grateful tone, eyes filled with appreciation. Shang Wuxin smiled slightly, but her smile was so cold. People could even feel the coldness with their bones. Shang Wuxin got on the carriage, but still said to the girl, in this case, there are not enough servants in my mansion. You can be my servant as you want to. Then they kept going ahead. As soon as Shang Wuxin got on the carriage, Nangong Lian asked in a curious tone, how could you allow her to be your servant? Are you really attracted by her appearance? It's true that the girl looks pretty good. Though what Nangong Lian just said didn't sound so well, her words were full of concern. She should be a simple girl. However, she was always cautious as she had seen so many plots at her brother's side. Beautiful women were always dangerous. And Nangong Lian didn't hope that Shang Wuxin would be hurt, either mentally or physically. Staring at Nangong Lian who was wearing a veil, Shang Wuxin laughed in her heart. It seemed that the girl trusted her and concerned about her so much from the first time they met each other. In contrast with others' concern out of benefits, hers was pure and warm, which made Shang Wuxin feel so comfortable. Shang Wuxin stretched out her finger and touched the chin of Nangong Lian. Then she acted like a hooligan who was tossing an innocent girl saying, well, I have such a pretty girl beside me, who can still attract me. Princess, would you like to come to my Crown Prince mansion? Even though she knew that Shang Wuxin was just kidding, Nangong Lian blushed with her words. It was all because of the Crown Prince's excellent appearance and wonderful voice that attracted all her attention. Nangong Qian had never seen a man dare to toss his sister in front of him, and no one dared to toss his sister when they saw her face. Nangong Qian took no measure to do with the situation, as Crown Prince Shang's eyes were so pure, and it was obvious that she had no dirty thought in her mind. Still, Nangong Qian felt uncomfortable in his heart. He was not interested in women's charm, but it didn't mean that he was against those people who love it. Maybe it was because the person who was tossed was his sister that he would feel like this. Without thinking too much, Nangong Qian pushed Crown Prince Shang's hand off his sister's face. It was the second time that he touched the pair of hands. He was not peaceful as he looked. Instead, he really felt that a special feeling was attacking his tightly closed heart. Being pushed away by Nangong Qian, Shang Wuxin just calmly withdrew her hands. After all, she was tossing his sister. She was lucky enough that Nangong Qian didn't took out his sword and pointed at her. Meanwhile, Shang Wuxin was still considering the fact that she couldn't be single all her life, as she was the crown prince of the Shang state. Though it really didn't matter. But now there was such a beautiful girl in front of her. She would really have some special thoughts in her mind if she was a man. At the same time, seeing what her brother did to Crown Prince Shang, Nangong Lian was a bit afraid that her brother would break Crown Prince Shang's hands. Her brother was not that kind of nice person, and hated others to get close to him. Even she was thrown out when she tried to please him. To her surprise, her brother just pushed Crown Prince Shang's hands away and showed no dislike or detestation. Crown Prince Shang was really good at making trouble for yourself, said Nangong Qian meaningfully. After all, Crown Prince Shang took in the girl just now, and Nangong Qian was clear that Crown Prince Shang was not the kind of man who could be attracted by beautiful girls. He could see that there must be a plot behind the girl, and Crown Prince Shang could see it too, but she still kept the girl. Nangong Qian couldn't helping having admiration for Crown Prince Shang's courage and indifference. I never make trouble myself. They just come themselves, replied Shang Wuxin indifferently. And it couldn't be regarded as trouble as she was such a beautiful girl, added Shang Wuxin. Talking on the way, they soon came into the Emperor Palace. Shang Wuxin led them to their residence that was arranged for them. It was a palace that's specially prepared for the envoys from other countries. Prince Qian, Princess Lian, enjoy yourselves. I have something else to do, so I have to leave now. After finishing her words, Shang Wuxin turned around and left. Her back view looked thin but handsome, giving people the same feeling as cool wind that made them want to stay here. Shang Wuxin knew that there would be a banquet to welcome Nangong Qian. It was still early now, so she was about to have a sleep in the cunning palace, palace of earthly tranquility. She was bound to say that she really liked the palace, as she was fond of the environment there. It always made her feel peaceful. Cunning Palace was as beautiful and peaceful as it was before, since the noise outside the wall never appeared in this place. All flowers and trees here were lively. This kind of scenery, which was hard to see in the complex palace, made Shang Wuxin feel peaceful in her heart. Shang Wuxin eluded so many invisible guards and got into the cunning palace to have a rest in the side hall, which the former queen prepared for her. She didn't expect that she would meet her father here. As they saw each other, both of them didn't say a word. After a long time, Shang Wuxin nodded, greeting, "Father." She then gave no more words and directly walked in. Arrogance covered her body, as if the man standing beside her was not an emperor, but a subordinate. Emperor Shang saw his child stepping into the side hall, which he and his queen specially decorated for her. Blankness and confusion could be seen in his weather-beaten, sharp eyes. As Shang Wuxin nearly entered the side hall, Emperor Shang asked, "How could you be here?" He knew clearly how fierce the invisible guards were, as it was he who built the team. But now Emperor Shang was only afraid that those invisible guards would hurt his child, regardless of her identity as crown prince. Emperor Shang dared not to think about it at all. "It belongs to me. Shouldn't I come here?" asked Shang Wuxin with a smile on her face. "Or you just forget it, as you have pretended for a long time." Emperor Shang noticed his child walk into the side hall. Standing there for a long time, the emperor finally walked in too. Shang Wuxin was lying on the soft bed, which he decorated himself, when his queen got pregnant. But now his beloved had passed away, and he couldn't help feeling painful in his heart. Seeing his child, the emperor got suddenly blank. It seemed to be a long time that he hadn't seen his child so carefully. All his wife's and his advantages could be found on Shang Wuxin's face. She was attractive enough even though she was just lying there. Maybe the emperor thought too much in the cunning palace. Maybe it was because he was staying with his child that made him recall so much things. "Exiner, have you ever hated me during the past years?" he asked. All was quiet in the side room of Cunning Palace, and Emperor Shang simply thought that his daughter must have already fallen into a deep sleep. "Why should I hate you?" Shang Wuxin lay on the soft bed with her eyes closed. Her voice was so weak that made Emperor Shang couldn't help feeling painful in his heart. "Should I hate you for your protection while leaving me on my own purposely? Or I should hate you for snubbing me, though I have been aware that you just want to avert the attention of these bad guys? Am I supposed to hate you for sending your people to guard me?" Actually, Shang Wuxin knew from the beginning that her father was sparing no efforts to protect her. The former crown prince might know nothing about it, but she couldn't know it better. Anyway, how could Shang Wuxin live such a long life if Emperor Shang didn't love her dearly? It was true that Chief Hai played an important role in protecting her, but it would be easy for Emperor Shang to stop Chief Hai from teaching her martial arts and words. More importantly, those princes had tried so many times to kill her in the past years. However, she could always got a chance to escape, though she also got hurt sometimes. As a weak person, could she be so lucky naturally? Of course not. It was just because Emperor Shang was protecting her in secret. Furthermore, Shang Wuxin had been suspicious when she woke up and walked out the forest. She could feel that some people were following her, but they had no evil intentions at all. Afterwards, she proved that those people came to find her not because they wanted to kill her. Who else could care about her so much besides Chief Hai? It had occurred to her at that moment that the person might be her father. When she firstly met Emperor Shang, she could see that he cared about his daughter pretty much, though he pretended to be cold. Shang Wuxin was not clear about all the things, but she knew that her father really loved her, which made her feel easy in her mind. After all, it would be rather hard to fight against an emperor. Have you known all these things? Asked Emperor in surprise. Shang Wuxin closed her eyes and replied in a nasal voice, Staring at his daughter with complex eyes for a long time, Emperor Shang then slightly closed his eyes and said slowly, I met your mum in a special fall. I was paying a private visit with several guards when I met a beautiful girl called Qiu'er. I tumbled for her the first time I met the girl, who was as peaceful as the season. It was at that autumn that I knew the true meaning of falling in love at the first sight. I ignored my position as emperor and got out the palace so many times for her. Though she just held a cold attitude towards me, I still felt so happy during those days. Emperor Shang told his story slowly, eyes filled with affection. In the end, Qiu'er was moved and I told her who I actually was. I knew that your mother was that kind of girl who just wanted to live a free life, so I promised her I would only love her in the following days. I would never favor anyone else except her. If I had knew that I would meet her in my life, I would be waiting for her quietly. How could I have so many concubines and children if I knew it early? It was all my fault and I felt so sorry for Qiu'er. From what he just said, Shang Wuxin knew a lot about what actually happened, as well as its causes that year. Emperor Shang was not the most powerful prince of the previous emperor at first, and he had no desire for succeeding the crown. Unexpectedly, he ascended the throne for this, as someone wanted to make him a puppet emperor. He had been struggling for so many years, and before he met his empress. As he fell in love, he made a firm decision that he would create a simple and safe environment for Empress Qiu. He then rose up in resistance and took lots of measures to clean up those villains. However, there were still so many people who criticized Empress Qiu for her position, as she had no powerful background. More crucially, Empress Qiu had not been pregnant for a long time since she moved to the Cunning Palace. Emperor Shang didn't concern about it at all, as he already had sons and daughters. But he couldn't control the whole imperial court. At that time, Empress Qiu got poisoned. Emperor Shang looked for all the famous doctors to save Empress Qiu. Finally, she survived, but she got pretty weak because of the poison. After that, all the officers began to send their memorials to Emperor Shang and urged that Empress Qiu should be put into the cold palace if she couldn't give birth to a prince. Emperor Shang got furious as soon as he got those memorials. He killed several officers, but he soon found that all his efforts were in vain. Fortunately, Empress Qiu got pregnant in the end, and Emperor Shang got more careful from that time. After all, Empress Qiu was so weak and Emperor Shang was really loyal to their love. He had never touched anyone else since he got married with Empress Qiu. And he even did so after Empress Qiu passed away. That was why Shang Wuxin was his last kid. Everyone paid great attention to Empress Qiu, especially those concubines. However, Empress Qiu didn't give birth to a prince but a princess. Even though the baby was a girl, they loved their daughter pretty much. To their surprise, the gender of the baby caused a lot of problems. In this case, Emperor Shang gave orders and killed all the witnesses who saw the born process of their little princess. Then he announced that Empress had given birth to a prince. That was why Shang Wuxin became a prince as well as the heir of the Shang state. When Empress Qiu passed away, Emperor Shang found that the more he loved his daughter would get more hurt. He had lost the woman he loved most, and he couldn't bear the pain if his daughter died too. So Emperor Shang drew himself away from his daughter and sent her to Crown Prince Mansion. He knew that Chief Hai was loyal to him, so he ordered him to look after his daughter. Gradually his daughter grew up. Emperor Shang found that his daughter was not only weak physically, but also weak in character. Emperor Shang really regretted and felt pity as his daughter's offspring did not live up to his expectations. He tried his best to find a solution for his daughter, and worried about how his daughter could survive after he died. He had never thought that his daughter could inherit the throne one day. It was not because of her gender but her ability. There was no doubt that an emperor should be capable of his position if he wanted to manage the state well. However, Emperor Shang gradually changed his idea after his daughter got back from the forest. He then realized that his daughter might have hidden her ability for a long time, which made him feel painful but proud. He kept silent, wanting to figure out the true ability of his daughter. If it was not good enough, he would arrange all the things and let her live a peaceful life in the future. Soon after that, the event of Fengzhou City brought great hope to Emperor Shang. He then totally realized that his daughter was so intelligent and excellent in managing a state, which encouraged him to put his daughter into power, despite of the fact that she was just a girl. I didn't protect your mother well, so I just want to spare no efforts to protect you. Emperor Shang approached the soft bed and gazed at his daughter, who was still closing her eyes. He stretched out his hand and touched her face, saying, "My daughter, I promise I will protect you well." Emperor Shang had got a bit tired as he had told so much, and his daughter, his little princess, was still lying still there. If he hadn't been sure that she was still awake, he would feel like he was just talking to the air for such a long time. Emperor Shang petted his daughter's hand, which was folded on her belly. He could obviously felt the stiffness and rejection of his daughter, which made Emperor Shang feel so complex in his heart. He knew that he really owed so much to his daughter. He didn't look after his daughter well, as she was supposed to enjoy her simple life, rather than take a man's responsibility as a girl. It was all his fault. Exiner, I knew you are able to do whatever you want. I will never interrupt you if you really want to do something. With those words, Emperor Shang got up on his feet, turned around and was about to leave. He would not allow his daughter do anything she wanted if she was not capable enough. And now he knew that he could set his mind at ease as his daughter was so brilliant. "What if I want to kill my brothers and sisters?" asked Shang Wuxin in a strange tone. A smile curved the corners of her lips. Shang Wuxin didn't repel her father so much, but she was clear that those princes and princesses were his natural children. He might show no affection to his concubines, but it didn't mean that he didn't care about his own kids. Shang Wuxin admitted that Emperor Shang loved her and her mother deeply. But was it so deep that he could allow her to take some cruel measures? People always said that a general's reputation was built upon sacrifices of tens of thousands of soldiers. Shang Wuxin never thought that she was a kind-hearted girl. She had to kill more and more people if she wanted to survive, including her brothers and sisters, who had the same father with her. The large back view of Empire Shang trembled a bit, and his footsteps was out of order too. He turned his back to his daughter, so Shang Wuxin got no chance to see the sorrow and sadness on his face. Emperor Shang knitted his eyebrows, uttering, "I know the price of surviving. You are my only child." Finishing his words, Emperor Shang left Cunning Palace. Wasn't Emperor Shang sad? Of course he was. Even though he was not fond of those kids, and didn't love them so much, he was still their father. He would be greatly painful if he lost them. Now Emperor Shang was not the kind young man who just came into power. He had gone through so many difficulties and killed so many people, no matter they were good or not. Emperor Shang had been used to blood. He knew more clear about what the position stood for. If his daughter was a kind person and forgave those people who tried to hurt her, she would definitely lost her life one day. He could lose anyone else, but the daughter he loved most was not one of them. Everyone would show partiality for someone special, and it was the same with him. It would be a better choice if those kids were smart enough and were willing to be princes all their lives. Otherwise, hearing his answer made the smile on Shang Wuxin's lips warmer. She opened her eyes, which were filled with light. If Emperor Shang's answer was not as satisfying as she had thought, she would not only keep her goal, but also ruthlessly kept him away from her. Shang Wuxin never expected those people around her to be kind or sensible. She simply needed those people who stood by her side all the time. She hoped that they would be with her no matter how cruel she was. They would be for her even when she was a devil, whom all people wanted to kill. As one of the most serious problems had been solved in her heart, Shang Wuxin fell asleep gradually. It never occurred to her that the person who found her and woke her up could be Huan Mosh. As soon as she opened her eyes, she got blank in her mind as she saw Huan Mosh standing in front of her. His eyes was so similar with those of the other man, who brought warmth to her, but pushed her into the hell finally. In a sudden, Shang Wuxin rose up and pulled Huan Mosh, throwing him on the soft bed, and got on top of him. On the royal bed, which was covered with white brocade, a handsome young man was pinned down by another young man in white who looked pretty cold. They were too close to each other, as if they were doing something special. Huan Mosh knew nothing about what to do next after being pushed down by Shang Wuxin. He had something important to do these days, so he got no chance to meet Shang Wuxin. He missed her so much. He heard that Crown Prince directly got into the palace as soon as he arrived, but he just couldn't find her. He then inquired about where would she be, and got into the forbidden area of the palace, Cunning Palace. Thinking of the fact that Shang Wuxin's birth mother was Empress Qiu, Huan Mosh secretly stepped into the Cunning Palace. As soon as he got the side palace, he found Shang Wuxin was sleeping on the soft bed as a cat. Huan Mosh couldn't deny that Shang Wuxin was really a powerful person, but she looked so small and thin lying on the bed. It was really a good day, but Huan Mosh was still afraid that Shang Wuxin would got cold resting here. Then he tried waking her up instead of picking her up to let her sleep on the big bed, as he knew it was impossible. However, when he approached the crown prince, he was suddenly pinned down by her. Huan Mosh fixed his eyes on Shang Wuxin nervously. He couldn't help his body getting stiff as he looked into her eyes. The deep dark eyes were peaceful and filled with complex emotion. Shang Wuxin kept them on him, as if she was looking at someone else. Hatred, sadness as well as sorrow could be seen in the eyes, which made Huan Mosh felt so painful in his heart. He cared about the young man, who looked so powerful in front of him. Huan Mosh knew that Shang Wuxin was looking someone else through him. At that moment, Huan Mosh extremely hated the man. How could he hurt her like this? How could he make her so sad? Huan Mosh really wanted to kill that person, as long as he could get a chance. Shang Wuxin petted the attractive eyes of Huan Mosh with her cold hands. It was too hard for Huan Mosh to figure out what she was really thinking about. While Huan Mosh was still lost in the great pain, Shang Wuxin instantly pushed him out of the soft bed. Huan Mosh directly fell down the ground, as he was not prepared at all. The surface of the ground was so cold that he immediately raised his head to see the crown prince, who was still lowering her head. Crown Prince! Great concern could be sensed in his voice. He looked at Shang Wuxin, who was sat there still. Though he couldn't see the expression on her face clearly, he could still feel the darkness around him. And the darkness divided them into two totally different worlds. Shang Wuxin suppressed the blood which was going to spout out, shouting at Huan Mosh, "Get out of here!" Huan Mosh still wanted to say something else, but as he found the eyes were full of murderous atmosphere, he then lowered his eyes and got out of the side palace step by step. He was not afraid that Shang Wuxin would kill him. Instead, he had felt that her condition was not normal, and her breath would get worse if he stayed there. Huan Mosh got out of the side palace, but he didn't leave Cunning Palace. He stood in the doorway and looked up to the clear and blue sky, feeling a bit hopeless in his heart. He had never made it clear why Shang Wuxin would be a bit aggressive to him sometimes. But now he seemed to have got the idea. He could feel that Shang Wuxin was not hostile to him. Actually, she was just hostile to a man who looked like him. Huan Mosh stretched out his hand and touched his beautiful eyes. Every time Shang Wuxin looked at the eyes, she would got a bit fidgety. The man who owned the same eyes with him was so lucky that he could attract the crown prince's attention. But from the sad expression on Shang Wuxin's face, Huan Mosh knew that the man must have hurt her. Otherwise, she would not behave so abnormally only because she saw a pair of familiar eyes. On the soft bed of the side palace lied a person. She unconsciously huddled herself up as a baby in a cradle. Shang Wuxin used her power to suppress the poison in her body. Glint could be seen in her eyes. She was sure that she suppressed the poison pretty well. It would attack one day, but the symptoms shouldn't appear so early. What made her be like this now? Was it because Shang Wuxin touched the jade pendant with her hand, a cold smile appearing in the corner of her mouth. Shang Wuxin then used her inner power to set her body well. Then she stood up and was intended to leave. After all, it was her duty to attend the banquet as the crown prince of Shang State. And the conversation made her feel more relaxed and be more determined to get what she should get. As soon as Shang Wuxin got out of the side palace, she saw Huan Mosh stand there still staring at the sky. Hearing the sound, he suddenly turned around and caught sight of his crown prince, who just walked out. Noticing that Shang Wuxin's face looked much better, Huan Mosh got more relaxed in his heart. Shang Wuxin didn't expect that Huan Mosh could be waiting here for so long. She knew that she lost her temper in front of him just now. What was worse, she even wanted to kill him at the moment. If Huan Mosh resisted or attacked her, things wouldn't pass so easily today. Crown Prince. Huan Mosh smiled to her warmly, as if nothing had happened. Shang Wuxin nodded, and then left the cunning palace. However, Huan Mosh, who stayed at the place, slowly changed his face. The smile gradually disappeared, and his expression then got bitter. He averted his eyes to the side palace. Thinking of what happened just now made him feel bitter. As Shang Wuxin prepared to go to the hall in which the banquet was going to be held, she happened to meet Nangong Qian and Nangong Lian, who were following a eunuch to the hall. They all left a good impression to each other, so they nodded to each other, and then walked to the banquet hall. Nangong Lian kept talking on the road, while the other two people gave no response and showed no expression. Just as they passed the imperial garden, they met a girl who fell down on the ground herself. Shang Wuxin then looked carefully and found that her sister was so careless that she twisted her ankle. Shang Qinmi wore a green yarn dress with moon-white outer garment, holding a light yellow shawl on her arms. Even though she had fell down, she still smiled sweetly to them and kept polite all the time. She seemed to be a graceful woman, and if some other men saw her, he must be pretty satisfied. Crown Prince, my ankle was twisted. Could you come here to help me? Shang Qinmi slightly squatted with her sexy clavicle uncovered. She looked at Shang Wuxin while paying her main attention to Nangong Qian. Seeing the secret smile under the veil of Shang Qinmi, Nangong Lian cast a meaningful eyesight to Shang Wuxin. She had been at his brother's side for many years and witnessed numberless girls who wanted to fall into her brother's arms. Unfortunately, none of them succeed. She didn't deny that Shang Qinmi was a good-looking girl, but she was still sure that her brother would throw her into the lake in the Empire Garden if she dared to get close to him. Shang Wuxin took one look at Shang Qinmi and then said, "Sorry, sister. I'm so weak myself. How could I be able to pick you up?" Hearing her words, Nangong Lian couldn't help but burst into laughter, as Shang Wuxin was just hinting that Shang Qinmi was too fat. Shang Qinmi didn't really want to let Shang Wuxin hold her up, but she still got mad as Crown Prince was so cold. She then turned her eyes to Nangong Qian and said in a sad voice, "Could you help me? My ankle was twisted." Of course, Shang Qinmi knew who was the strong and handsome man, was as Prince Qian of Nangong State was so famous. He had never seen the man, but heard many legends about him. Only when she met the man did Shang Qinmi knew there could be such a powerful and cold man in the world. It would be lucky for her to marry such an outstanding man. Nangong Qian just felt funny for the words that Crown Prince Shang just said. He never expected that the woman would ask him to pick her up. Knowing the woman was Crown Prince Shang's sister, and he was in Shang State now, he didn't kill her. But he still answered her with a cold tone. "Who are you? How dare you let me pick you up?" Nangong Qian then threw his purple sleeve behind, as if he saw something dirty. Shang Qinmi's eyes got immediately red and wet as she heard the insulting words. She had thought that she would be refused by Prince Qian. But it never occurred to her that he not only refused her, but also insulted her. Shang Qinmi noticed that some maids in the Empire Garden was laughing in secret. She had never been insulted like this. "Crown Prince Shang, is she your sister?" Nangong Lian asked deliberately. Then she scornfully looked up and down Shang Qinmi, who was squatting there, adding, "I just find all girls in Shang State were dressed conservatively. How could the princess get out with such a set of clothing? If I wear like this, I would be punished severely by my brother." Nangong Lian then pointed at the clavicle and breasts, which nearly showed out. "We just have the same father," Shang Wuxin said indifferently. She would prefer to kill her as she was so stupid. Her life would be more peaceful without her. Then they passed Shang Qinmi and walked away. Nangong Lian was so naughty that she stepped on the hemline of Shang Qinmi. Nangong Lian kept his face still, but Shang Wuxin realized that Nangong Lian was really naughty. Her character was totally different from that of his brother. At the moment, Shang Qinmi stood up and fixed her eyes on the three people who just left, eyes and heart filled with rage. Actually, she hated Prince Qian, but she hated her brother more. She always led a free life, and could get whatever she wanted. However, as Shang Wuxing got powerful, neither her mother nor her brother had ever got any benefits. Her life got worse at the same time. In her eyes, the crown prince was the unbeatable rival for them. If Shang Wuxing didn't exist, Emperor Shang hadn't arrived when they got into the hall. As crown prince, Shang Wuxing needed to receive Nangong Qian and Nangong Lian, so she led them to her seats. Seeing that all officers had arrived, Shang Wuxing realized that Nangong Qian was really powerful. She tried hard to keep her mind clear, and sat on her seat still. However, her body was still shaking and sweats had appeared on her back. "Damn it!" cursed Shang Wuxing. At the same time, she saw Shang Qinmi, who came there late. Noticing that Shang Qinmi walked to her seat, picked up the cup and then slightly touched the wine with her nail. Shang Wuxing lowered her eyes with a smile curving her lips. If someone saw the smile on her face, he would know how strange the smile was. Soon after that, a maid served Shang Wuxing with a cup of wine, and Shang Qinmi, who stood at a distance, looked at her nervously. She saw Shang Wuxing pick up her wine, but meanwhile, the crown prince suddenly averted her eyes to her, and there seemed to be something different in her eyes. Shang Qinmi felt a bit scared. She wanted to stop as she realized that her plot might go wrong, but Shang Wuxing had drunk the wine at the moment, leaving her no time to do that. Then Shang Qinmi could do nothing but see her drink the wine on purpose. With a puff, a gust of blood spurted from the mouth of Shang Wuxing, who was sitting on the upper right place of the hall. Crown Prince. Huan Mosh and Lung Yufeng quickly got close to her with great concern. So did Nangong Qian and Nangong Lian. "Emperor is coming." A loud voice came from the doorway of the hall. Exiner, Emperor Shang saw his daughter, who was lively as a tiger in the afternoon, leaning on General Lung's chest with the corner of her lips bleeding, as soon as he walked into the palace. Emperor Shang came close to Crown Prince quickly. He seemed to see the picture when his empress passed away. At this time Emperor Shang felt that his alienation from his daughter, for years which he thought could be good for her, would be useless if something bad really happened to her. "Where is the imperial physician?" Emperor Shang shouted to all the officers at court. "Crown Prince." Lung Yufeng had ever dreamed that he could hug Crown Prince like this someday, but he had never expected it could happen under such circumstances. The freezing temperature of Crown Prince in his arms hurt his heart. He didn't find that his hands holding Crown Prince were shaking ceaselessly. Huan Mosh stood beside Lung Yufeng and looked at Crown Prince, with his amorous eyes full of fears and an eclipse. He kept beating himself up. Why? Why did he let Crown Prince get hurt in front of his eyes? Nangong Qian stood there and looked at the young boy, who was standing by his side with harsh words and grim laugh just now. But now it seemed that he was lying there without breathing. Nangong Qian felt uncomfortable, which was the feeling that he had never had before. He just didn't like to see such a Prince Shang. The imperial physician trotted to the audience hall with his medical kit. Lung Yufeng pulled the imperial physician aside immediately and said eagerly, "Be quick." He could feel that the temperature of the Crown Prince in his arms was lower and lower, being so afraid that Crown Prince would die accidentally due to his carelessness. The imperial physician took Crown Prince's pulse in the sight of many big shots. However, the longer the time went on, the more the cold sweat broke out on his head. Emperor Shang was the first one who couldn't wait any longer. He pulled up the imperial physician and said with his voice full of care to his daughter, "Tell me, is there anything wrong with Crown Prince? If any, I will have all of you buried with him." He was not kidding. If something really happened to his daughter, he couldn't support any longer, let alone the imperial hospital. All the officers at court had their face changed after hearing Emperor Shang's words. Now they realized how much Emperor Shang treasured Crown Prince. And several princes of Shang's state turned pale privately. They ever thought that their father didn't like Crown Prince. Now they knew they had been wrong. Beyond their expectation, Crown Prince was the favorite son of their father. They couldn't let Crown Prince live any longer. "Your Majesty." The imperial physician was so frightened that he knocked over the medicine kit at hand. "Crown Prince is poisoned. I am not able to save him." Even though he was really scared and willing to treat Crown Prince, he couldn't make it with his medical skill. So did the others in the Imperial Hospital, as he was the best among them. Emperor Shang looked at his daughter lying there with his red eyes. At this moment, Nangong Qian tried to come to pick up Prince Shang, but stopped by Huan Mosh. He looked at Nangong Qian warily, and wondered what this guy wanted to do. Nangong Qian just wanted to take Prince Shang to Nangong State to see the doctor. After all, there were a lot of doctors with good skill in Nangong State. However, he suddenly woke up when he was stopped by Huan Mosh. What was he doing just now? Why did he care about other people except his sister? Was that because he was the one who had saved his sister? Yes, he still owed Prince Shang a debt of gratitude, so Prince Shang couldn't die. Let's look for a highly skilled doctor. Huan Mosh became calm firstly. He thought of Yi Yizha, the highly skilled doctor who gave Crown Prince a carriage, even though he was strongly dissatisfied with Yi Yizha's action at that moment. Now he had to be glad that Crown Prince was familiar with this highly skilled doctor. Look for Yi Yizha. It was the first shouting of the gentleman Huan Mosh. Yi Yizha always appeared and disappeared mysteriously, but he was able to bring the dying back to life. However, his temper was too wired to save lives easily. Many dignitaries were dying in front of him, and he chose to do nothing. While he had never failed as long as he did, everybody knew that only the highly skilled Dr. Yi Yizha could save Crown Prince at this point. But where was this highly skilled doctor? Many people even had never seen this mysterious doctor, let alone looking for him. Nangong Lian looked at Prince Shang lying there with worries filled in her heart. She also knew Yi Yizha. Her brother had looked for help from him for the scar on her face, but failed. Would he do Crown Prince a favor now? Find him. Lung Yufeng picked Crown Prince up and tried to run out, leaving only the two words "find him." When everyone felt hopeless, Eunuch Su ran into the palace. "Your Majesty," said he with excitement. "The doctor is in the mansion of Crown Prince now. He is waiting for curing Crown Prince." Everybody was shocked by Eunuch Su's voice. Lung Yufeng hastily carried Crown Prince and ran to his mansion immediately. Huan Mosh followed Lung Yufeng and looked at the comatose Crown Prince time and again. Nangong Qian said to Emperor Shang with a smile, "Crown Prince and I are like old friends from the start. Now he is not good. I should come to see him. I beg your pardon for my leave." He left for the mansion of Crown Prince with Nangong Lian, who had already been impatient. Emperor Shang also wanted to see his daughter with them, but he couldn't leave. Not only was the freedom fettered by the throne but the heart. Nonetheless, Emperor Shang decided not to conceal his love to his daughter from now on. He would stay with her no matter how it turned out. Minister Bai. Emperor Shang hid the worries and anxiousness in his eyes and became a trenchant emperor again, the king of Shang State. "I am here." Minister Bai came out and went down with the expression of integrity, but full of respect to Emperor Shang. "Investigate it carefully," Emperor Shang said with a king's rage. "I want to see who dared to persecute Crown Prince in this imperial palace. I am not dead yet. Crown Prince can't be poisoned by you." Emperor Shang glanced at his sons and daughters with depression in his heart. They really couldn't tolerate Exiner. Well, just took it as if he had never had these kids. He loved all of them, but Exiner was his favorite. They were not at all comparable with her. "I got you." Minister Bai knew that Emperor was really in anger. The victimizers must be dead, whether they were princes/princess or emperor's consorts. Shang Qinmi began to tremble when she looked at his angry father and thought Crown Prince's sight before he started to drink the poisonous wine. Consort Exan saw her pale and scared daughter, who was about to fall down. She thoughtfully supported her mirror. "What's wrong with you? Don't scare Mom." Consort Exan was laughed at by every consorts in the imperial palace. The amputated finger made her shamed. She must have killed Crown Prince if her son hadn't asked her to be tolerant. "No, please don't say anything about it, Mom. I am okay," Shang Qinmi said with her head lower. Different from the flurry in the imperial palace, the people outside were extremely aghast. Lung Yufeng carried Crown Prince and ran to the mansion of Crown Prince desperately. Huan Mosh, Nangong Qian and Nangong Lian followed them. When Lung Yufeng felt he should run faster and faster, his hand was touched by another cold hand. He thought he was hallucinated, but when he lowered his head, he saw Crown Prince opening his eyes. Crown Prince! Lung Yufeng exclaimed excitedly, and stopped his rapid steps. He tightened his arms unceasingly, but he was frightened to hurt Crown Prince. He was looking at Crown Prince as an innocent boy. The others behind quickly stepped forward to them, after hearing Lung Yufeng's voice. They saw Prince Shang open his eyes. He was still very weak, but his eyes were extremely cold. You are holding me too tight. Shang Wuxin patted Lung Yufeng's arms again. Was she poisoned? Yes, she was poisoned, but not by Shang Qinmi. It was the original poison from her body. She knew that she couldn't bear it, so she incidentally pretended to be poisoned by Shang Qinmi. By the way, she wanted to show his father how his children treated her, which could cut off the thin family affection in his heart. Therefore, she could get double benefits from it. Lung Yufeng realized he was so nervous that he held Crown Prince too tight and let him uncomfortable. He slightly adjusted his arms immediately. This was the first time he had picked up others, but he was very gentle, which made Shang Wuxin feel much better. Are you okay, Prince Shang? Nangong Qian asked angrily. After all, this was the first time he had cared about another person so much, but he was cheated by him, which was the thing he hated most. What was more, the feeling was out of control. Shang Wuxin shook her head out of discomfort. I will not be so weak if I am okay. It's true that I am poison, but not about to be dead, she said and glanced at Lung Yufeng. He got her, and continued his step to the mansion of Crown Prince. Nangong Qian felt a fit of rage in his heart. He stopped, and didn't want to go to the mansion of Crown Prince. Now that Prince Shang would not be dead, it was no necessary to go with them. However, when he saw his sister running to the mansion of Crown Prince, he persuaded himself that his sister was not safe there. He had to go with her. Lung Yufeng carried Shang Wuxin back to the mansion of Crown Prince. All the people in the mansion were very surprised and scared, but they became calm quickly as they had experienced a lot with Shang Wuxin. Wu Wei said to Lung Yufeng, General Lung, please put Crown Prince down. Dr. Yi was already there. Wu Wei and others were quite clear that Crown Prince didn't like other people entering his bedroom palace, but now they had to let Dr. Yi enter. Wu Wei knew that it would be okay if Crown Prince blamed him, as life was much important than these habits. Wu Wei and Wu Ju supported Crown Prince to enter into the bedroom, and Dr. Yi was already sitting in the outer room, with the little fox squatting on his shoulder. It looked very complacent, but it got off from Dr. Ye's shoulder rapidly when seeing the weak and insensible Crown Prince, and squeaked incessantly. They stayed around Crown Prince after puting him on the bed. Get out! Yi Yizha's voice was soft but indisputable. Neither Wu Wei nor Wu Ju moved. However, Yi Yizha said, Your prince can't wait anymore. If you insist, I am not sure if I can save him or not. Wu Wei and Wu Ju thought for a while, and got out the bedroom. But they gave Yi Yizha a warning look when they left. Yi Yizha looked at Crown Prince lying there. He really had not seen him for a long time. He grew up without any desires, and had no interests in anything. He was envied by others, but he felt very sad. He had no feeling or emotion, as he desired for nothing. However, this Crown Prince was an exception. He was the only color of his life. He must grasp it. Yi Yizha reached Crown Prince and tried to take his pulse, but saw the insensible Crown Prince opening his eyes, which were neither as sophisticated as in Fengzhou City, nor as confident as in daily life. The eyes were full of killing intent and chilling like a sharp knife or incisive sword. What a good idea, my great physician. Looking at Yi Yizha, who was sitting by the bed, Shang Wuxin had a strange look. Even it was the second time that Shang Wuxin had met the great physician. She had to admit that both his appearance and his temperament was outstanding. The man, looking like an immortal who was exiled here, wore a white long robe with tight sleeves of silver piping, which was elegant but not plain, beautiful but not grandiose. And around his waist, he wore a jade green and pale gray silk belt, with an old and simple white jade pendant hanging on it. Thread outlined clouds of varied shapes on his garment. His black hair tied in the white jade crown fell on his shoulders like silk. The moonlight penetrated the lantern hanging outside the chamber, and covered him with silver light, which made the man who was sitting beside the bed at the moment look like an otherworldly supernatural being. Yi Izha withdrew his hands, a gleam of praise flashing across his eyes, and explained, "I bear no malice against you." Noticing that the crown prince still looked upset, he repeated, "I really have no vicious intention." He never gave any explanations to others, so he didn't know what needed to be explicated. The little fox stared at the weak crown prince and wanted to climb into the bed. But as it jumped up on the bed, it was thrown to the floor by the wind coming from the palm of Shang Wuxin. If this little fox were not sharp, it would have lost its life. Then it looked sadly at the crown prince lying there, kept squeaking, dared not move forward, but could only lie on the ground, and stared at the crown prince with its big eyes full of sorrow, and it reached out its claws to cover its face from time to time. "You can no longer use your internal forces. It would make the toxin in your body break out faster." Yi Izha worried. He was surprised when he saw that the crown prince used internal forces to attack the little fox. And he failed to stop that. The little fox is only a beast, and it doesn't know anything. It was me who did all of this. Oh, although Shang Wuxin lay on the bed, rather weakly, his eyes were fierce. "My great physician, you are really good at scheming and calculating. You know that I would certainly not perceive the poison you put on this beast. And then you could save me after I got hurt. I wonder what you want from me." At the beginning, Shang Wuxin didn't know why she would suffer the toxic attack so early. Then she considered for a while, and found that she didn't touch anything strange except this fox. She smelled the taste of herbs that day, but she thought it was because the fox had been staying with Yi Izha for a long time, hence it got the smell. She didn't realize that the smell of herbs aimed at her. The little fox, looking at the crown prince lying on the bed, kept squeaking and wanted to explain something. But Shang Wuxin didn't understand its bestial language and said to it, "If you continued to make noise, I would kill you and use your flesh to cook dinner." As expected, the little fox was frightened, ran to Yi Izha and lay at his feet, daring make no noise. "It was me who put the medicine on the little fox. And it was the medicine that provoked the toxic attack in your body. But the medicine cannot harm you. Even my crown prince suppresses the toxin temporarily. You can't bear the consequences it would bring when it breaks out finally. So, I decided to help you to release the toxin first. And I'll give you medical treatment. As for these means I used, I feel very sorry." Yi Izha did want to get something from the crown prince. He wanted to get the crown prince's attention and the opportunities to approach the crown prince. Everyone who had ever met Yi Izha would think he was like an immortal desiring for nothing. And his identity as great physician made him more ethereal. But on the other hand, he was a businessman, more precisely, a very rich businessman. So like other businessmen, he was also shrewd and unscrupulous. The mix of these two incompatible characteristics made Yi Izha more horrible than other people. If he were not interested in the things he met, he would be the indifferent great physician, while he would be stubborn if he met something or someone that he didn't want to let go. That's why even Yi Izha, just like the crown prince for the moment, he still took some measures to send him to the crown prince. It couldn't be imagined what he would do if his feeling for the crown prince turned into love. Shang Wuxin didn't expect that what Yi Izha did for her was out of kindness. Shang Wuxin believed that the reason he did all of this was because he wanted to get something from her. However, hearing that the situation was not like what she expected, Shang Wuxin didn't feel moved but doubted it. She suspected the truth of Yi Izha's words and his purposes. How could Shang Wuxin realize what the man did was really for her sake? "My great physician, do you mean that you can cure me?" Shang Wuxin asked. "If you could heal me, I would reward you." Although Shang Wuxin suspected Yi Izha, she couldn't deny his medical skills. If she really wanted to detoxify her body, she would need Yi Izha's help. Yi Izha's indifferent eyes became a little uneasy. "I can only eliminate a part of toxin in your body tentatively, but cannot detoxify your body. Sorry." People called him as great physician, and his medical skills were matchless in the world. But he knew that he was a doctor but not a god, and there were a lot of patients that he couldn't save. Of course, he had never considered to heal them. But Yi Izha felt a bit sad that night, because he didn't have any methods to cure the person who he wanted to heal the most. The crown prince inherited the toxin from his mother. It had been lurked in her body for many years, and had never been treated. That the crown prince was still alive was a blessing. However, Yi Izha was determined to figure out the toxin in the crown prince's body. Otherwise, his life would become a sleepy backwater once again. It was the second time that Yi Izha had said sorry. Shang Wuxin waved her hands, knowing that no matter what happened, she shouldn't jump to conclusion. And as she would need the great physician's aid to detoxify her body, she couldn't offend him. "My crown prince, please let me take your pulse," Yi Izha said. Shang Wuxin moved her wrist slightly, but still reached out her hand. Although she had practiced the method, which could lead to the disorder of her pulse, she still felt a little nervous before Yi Izha. Nevertheless, she had to take her chances. Yi Izha stared at the crown prince's slender, white and jade-like wrist. And when he touched the crown prince's soft skin, he felt his heart missed a beat. The crown prince's pulse was in a mess. Yi Izha found that the toxin suppressed for a long time had become more serious. Luckily he appeared. Otherwise, the crown prince would die several years later. For the moment, what he needed to do was to nurse the crown prince's body, detoxify her body little by little, and finally find the antidote. Yi Izha's mind was so chaotic that he neglected something. More importantly, the cool breath the crown prince had, and the determined measures she usually took, all would make people overlook her physical features easily. If Yi Izha didn't like the crown prince, he would have perceived something wrong. However, as Yi Izha thought the crown prince was male beforehand, he didn't doubt the crown prince's gender, and neither did the others. "My crown prince, the toxin in your body is of high toxicity. I will live in the mansion of crown prince, and treat you these days. Please allow me to stay here, my crown prince." After saying that, Yi Izha went out and prepared to boil herbs for the crown prince. As for whether the crown prince would agree, Yi Izha knew very well that the crown prince would consent. That was not because the crown prince was afraid of death, but the crown prince needed to stay alive. "Okay, sorry to trouble you," Shang Wuxin said, and then closed her eyes. As her body was in bad condition, if she had not insisted to keep awake, she would have passed into a coma. So, after the issue was settled, Shang Wuxin lost consciousness at once. Yi Izha glanced at the crown prince in a coma, and hurried to go out to boil herbs. And the little fox jumped on the crown prince's bed, hung on the bedstead and stared at the crown prince. Only by then the little fox could approach the crown prince it liked, while in normal times, it couldn't touch her even once. When Yi Izha walked out the crown prince's resting palace, he saw the crowd standing outside. Seeing Yi Izha out, Wu Wei and Wu Ju hurriedly prepared to enter the crown prince's chamber. But they were stopped by Yi Izha. "Now, the crown prince is weak. We'd better do not bother him. The crown prince should take the medicine as soon as possible." Then he handed the prescription to Wu Wei and Wu Ju. "What happened to the crown prince?" Huan Mosh asked, with his eyes looking at the resting palace, but seeing nothing. Although Lung Yufeng didn't ask anything, he had been frowning and his hands had been clasping tightly. Nangong Qian looked normal, but he paid all his attention to Yi Izha. And it was the first time that he had waited here patiently for something not associated with official business, but for the safety of a crown prince of the other country. "Come on, what happened to the crown prince Shang?" Nangong Lian murmured. She had met so many handsome men that day. She thought that her elder brother was the most beautiful man in the world. So, she was surprised when she saw the crown prince Shang. Later, she met the good-looking General Lung. And that day, she even met another two attractive men. Nangong Lian wondered if all the men around the crown prince Shang were so handsome. These guys formed a huge test for her endurance. Yi Izha noticed that there are so many people being worried about the crown prince, and most of them were male. And then thinking of the crowd who cared about the crown prince, especially the men who were so famous that he even heard something about them, Yi Izha felt a little bit frustrated. There is nothing serious for the moment, but the crown prince need to be nursed carefully. Yi Izha replied. Eunuch Hai wiped tears from his eyes and hurried to do other things. Although the crown prince was ill, the mansion of crown prince couldn't slide into chaos. As he was the chief of the whole mansion, he surely couldn't relax. When Wu Wei held the bowl of medicine, and prepared to enter the crown prince's chamber. Yi took it and went into the chamber. And Nangong Qian left with his younger sister after he had known that the crown prince was fine. Although Huan Mosh and Leng Yufeng wanted to stay here, they needed to investigate the causes why the crown prince had been poisoned. So they also left the mansion of crown prince. And they set their mind to find the poisoner and let him die like a dog. Yi went into the crown prince's chamber. Then he saw the crown prince being in a coma, with his eyes closing tightly. He saw that the crown prince's pale face was only as big as his palm, partially covered by the long black hair spreading out like ink diffusing in water, which made it more pointed and smaller. The crown prince lay huddled up in bed and looked petite, looking like the cunning and smart little fox, which had the same appearance when it let its guard down and fell asleep. The crown prince's look made Yi have the impulse to protect and take care of him. Maybe the crown prince felt someone coming into her chamber. She frowned and was about to wake up. Seeing that, Yi hurriedly walked over and hit her sleeping acupoint. The crown prince went to sleep again. The little fox, which was hanging on the bedstead, was angry with Yi and afraid that he would hurt the crown prince. She is tired. She needs to rest, Yi said softly. As expected, the little fox soon quieted down. Yi picked up the little fox and put it on the floor, knowing that the crown prince didn't like it. And if the crown prince knew the little fox was on the bed, she would get angry. Yi held the bowl of medicine and looked at the crown prince in coma. Then he paused for a moment, wondering how to let the crown prince drink the medicine. After thinking for a long while until the medicine got cold, Yi took a deep breath. Yi lips covered crown prince's pink lips, which were coolish but incredibly soft, just like the cotton candy. That made Yi opened his eyes wide and swallowed the decoction he prepared for crown prince. Yi still put his lips on crown prince's without leaving. He could smell the fragrance when crown prince breathed and see his white and smooth skin, which made Yi feel that the decoction he drank just now was scorching hot. He stood up and left crown prince hurriedly with a reluctant sight on the pink lips. He kept the decoction in the month once again after becoming calm, and covered crown prince's lips again. But crown prince pursed his lips together. Yi had to force open them slightly, and forwarded the decoction in his month to crown prince, seeing crown prince drink up all of them. Yi looked at the comatose crown prince. He put out his tongue quietly, and licked crown prince's lips. And then all of his body reddened suddenly with storm surging in his eyes, which seemed to swallow everything. Yi kissed crown prince on his lips soundlessly after licking for a long time. He kissed him gently with earnest and piety, as if he was looking for something carefully again and again. His kiss was inexpert and soft without any skills, which was as light as butterfly wings. He just kept touching repeatedly and carefully with his instinct. However, when he tried to open crown prince's lips, he found that the comatose crown prince frowning. He was so frightened that he left with Qing Kung, a kind of Chinese ancient kung fu, more specifically lightness skill, that enables people to move quickly like flying, and flew out of the mansion of crown prince, as if he had seen a ghost. Yi didn't find that he had flew far away from the mansion of crown prince, until he stopped on the roof in a quiet area. Even though it was so far away, his heart kept beating, as if it would jump out from his chest. As long as he stopped, he could recall the soft and sweet in crown prince's lips, which were better than any delicacies, and made him cannot help sinking with the feeling of keeping the kiss all the time, and swallowing them into the belly. After standing there for a long time, Yi calmed down his mood, which had never been so excited for years. He turned round to fly to the mansion of crown prince. Now that he liked him so much, he could stay with him all the time. He couldn't care less about the faggotry, and no one could stop him. When Yi returned to the mansion of crown prince, it was already dawn. He was going to see crown prince, when he heard that crown prince hadn't woken up. But he was a little embarrassed for what he did last night, so he went to the courtyard chief Hai arranged for him. It was late morning when Shang Wuxin woke up. Perhaps because part of the poison had been detoxified, she felt she was still weak, but much more comfortable, with more and more energy coming back slowly. She sat up and saw the little fox lying under her bed. She squinted her eyes but didn't drive it away. Wu Wei and Wu Ju came in. When Shang Wuxing got dressed and sat at the mirror, she was a little confused by looking at her lips in the mirror, which were always pale before, but they seemed to be redder today with the feeling of numbness. She didn't think more, and thought it was the effort of the treatment of Yi Izha. She didn't know she was taken physical advantage when she was in a coma. Crown Prince, how do you feel? Wu Wei asked when combing hair for Crown Prince. They were frightened badly yesterday. Crown Prince was senseless after coming back. If without the stop from Chief Hai, they would have gone to find the highly skilled doctor. But they didn't know why the doctor disappeared after feeding decoction for Crown Prince, and didn't get back until this morning. Shang Wuxing said pleasantly, not bad. Please tell Chief Hai later, in case he is worried about me. Even though she didn't see the scene, she knew that Chief Hai was scared when seeing she was poisoned yesterday. In spite of the clever means Chief Hai had, it was also very terrible when he cried. She had no interests to coax him. Well noted. Wu Wei answered happily. Chief Hai did cry yesterday, cry with anxiety. That made them at a loss, even though they had been his subordinates for years. And his voice with screaming and shouting was really unbearable. Well, Crown Prince, do you know that the victimizer had already been found out? Wu Ju came to Crown Prince's side, and said with indignation. She and Wu Wei didn't go to the Imperial Palace with Crown Prince yesterday. Unexpectedly, Crown Prince was hurt by those bitches, which was really annoying. Shang Wuxing didn't have any further questions with curiousness, which made Wu Ju a little frustrated. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something and asked, Crown Prince, have you already known who the victimizer was? Even Wu Ju put down the comb on hand, and looked at Crown Prince incredulously. Looking at the servant girls who were always expressionless in daily life after trained by her were surprised rarely. Shang Wuxing said kind-heartedly, I not only knew who the victimizer was, but also witnessed her action. Before the surprise of the two girls, they heard a wailing cry coming from outside the bedroom. Crown Prince, why are you so capricious? If something bad happened to you, how can I live? Shang Wuxing twitched her eyelids. She knew how bad her words were. Look, it was getting her into a trouble. Chief Hai ran into the bedroom and kept talking to Crown Prince. All his words were about caring. It looked like an elder was teaching a lesson to his kid. What was rare was that Crown Prince listened with interests, instead of getting angry. Chief Hai didn't found that Crown Prince was sitting at the mirror and looking at himself until he was dry with talking. He suddenly knelt down and said, I am overstepping. Please forgive me, Your Highness. He forgot who he was because of caring about Crown Prince too much. Thinking of his homiletic words with dissatisfaction and expectation to Crown Prince just now, Chief Hai wanted to be dead immediately. Shang Wuxing lifted up Chief Hai by herself. She felt at ease instead of boring when Chief Hai kept teaching her just now. It was lucky to have a person to care about you. What's more, Chief Hai was so heartfelt. I am not so silly as Chief Hai said. I knew Shang Qimi poison, but I didn't drink it. Shang Wuxing explained. She knew if without her explanation, it would leave Chief Hai no peace when she went to the Imperial Palace for the banquet in the future. But why you? Chief Hai suddenly realized and asked with fear. He didn't finish his words, but Shang Wuxing knew what he meant. She also understood that he didn't want Wu Wei and Wu Ju to know it. Not because of the distrust of them, but giving the priority to her for everything. It was the original poison inside my body. Shang Wuxing didn't conceal it. I just made it with this opportunity. At this moment, Wu Wei and Wu Ju had realized that Crown Prince was poisoned originally. They didn't ask more. It showed that Crown Prince trusted them by letting them know something, and the best way for them was to serve him well. Mr. Huan and General Leng went to the Imperial Palace to help Minister Bai with the investigation last night. They detected the victimizer was the eldest princess Shang Qinmi in the late night. Now she was put in prison by the emperor. He said it would be dealt with by yourself. Wu Wei told Crown Prince all the information. Shang Wuxing nodded satisfactorily. She was delighted with her father's decision, even though Shang Qinmi didn't hurt her. But this intention should be stopped as early as possible. And her father really didn't let her down. He wasn't partial to Shang Qinmi, although she was also his daughter. How about Shang Chenjiao? Shang Wuxin asked. She forgot to ask her mindless brother these days. Now that she had got the promise of his father, it was time to settle all these so-called brothers and sisters, in case she would be upset at them. In that day, that Miss Wanwan died in the mansion of eldest prince. Everybody saw that it was Shang Chenjiao who raped her, and then killed her. So the memorials of impeaching have never been stopped. Now he is under house arrest in his mansion, and waiting for the sentences. While he is worse than death after losing the ability as a man. Wu Wei said with some anger. She was much better after experiencing so much things, also restrained her hatred much more. Crown Prince, the 3,000 soldiers awarded by the emperor were trained well. They have already been merged into the bloody Shang army. Wu Ju said proudly. Shang Wuxin was not surprised. She knew those soldiers were supervised by his father, which were sent to her with the chance last time. It was her father's well-intention, and the soldiers were really good. She needed them. Crown Prince. A female voice came outside the bedroom. Shang Wuxin thought a while and knew who she was. It was the girl she saved before. But she just could stand outside, due to not being allowed to enter the bedroom. What's the matter? You are too noisy. Chief Hai walked out of the bedroom and asked discontentedly. The girl looked poor and diligent, but she was not reliable after all. Chief Hai was very dissatisfied. He would have killed her if without Crown Prince's command. He knew that Crown Prince was a girl, and the honey trap didn't work for her. However, he wanted to cry after a while. Prince Qian and Princess Lian from Nangong State are coming, as well as the imperial edict, said the girl with her head bowed. This was a poor girl in every respect. What was more, she was beautiful with the unblemished background. Got it. Got it. Leave here. This is not the place you are allowed to come. He returned to Crown Prince's bedroom after finishing the words, while the girl in the same position left with a sad sight on the bedroom. Oh, Prince Qian is coming? Shang Wuxin took over the wet towel from Wu Ju and cleaned up her face. Then she said, now that he have been in my mansion, I should go to have a look. She received the imperial edict directly after entering the hall. It declared that Prince Qian and Princess Lian would live in the mansion of Crown Prince during the period they were in Shang State. After the eunuch finished the announcement and left, Shang Wuxin sat on the host seat. Please, Prince Qian and Princess Lian, forgive me for my humble mansion. Shang Wuxin sat on the host seat and looked at the two people below. She was sure that it was not the decision of his father. It should be the idea of Prince Qian. What was his intention to live in her mansion? Shang Wuxin was not at ease to have such a dangerous guy in her mansion. Sitting there in purple with black hair, Nangong Qian was very handsome. He was not in the host seat, but he had the temperament of the master of this world. With his eyebrows raised slightly on his handsome and vigorous face, he looked confident as if nothing could bother him. The bright and indifferent eyes became warmer because of Crown Prince's recovery. His unique good looks made others shocked and deeply impressed. Prince Shang is joking. I love here. Nangong Qian tasted the tea, which was really good although it was not the best. He came back to the imperial palace of Shang State yesterday, but felt something hard to let go all the time. After thinking for a long time, as well as the repeated chatter about Crown Prince from his sister, he came up with the suggestion to Emperor Shang that he wanted to live in the mansion of Crown Prince. Emperor Shang absolutely wouldn't reject him. Thinking that he would live here, Nangong Qian felt the life seemed to be much more interesting. Shang Wuxin moved her fingers slightly and said to Chief Hai, go and clear up the eastern courtyard for Prince Qian and Princess Lian. The eastern courtyard was not so good as the bedroom of Crown Prince, but the layout there was pretty good. Shang Wuxin's arrangement was reasonable. Before Chief Hai took action, Nangong Qian's voice arose, don't do that. I think the courtyards beside Crown Prince's bedroom are okay. I will choose one to live. He got the basic understanding of this mansion of Crown Prince last night. Of course, he didn't mean to pry the layout of the mansion of Crown Prince. It was because of his position, which let him carefully observe and acquire the things everywhere he located, just for unexpected needs. The mansion of Crown Prince covered a wide area, and Crown Prince's bedroom palace was the biggest and most luxurious. There were 5 other courtyards of different sizes around. Even though they were very simple, Nangong Qian didn't care at all. Nangong Lian took a look at her brother with gratitude. She thought he lived in the mansion of Crown Prince for her. And now he even chose to live close to Crown Prince. She was very clear that her brother was hard to get along with. So she didn't expect that her brother did so, because he had interests in Crown Prince. She silly thought her brother loved her so much. Shang Wuxi nodded and agreed. Sorry to let Prince Qian and Princess Lian wronged. She asked Chief Hai to bring them to pick the courtyards after finishing her words. No need to monitor Prince Qian. Shang Wuxing got Wu Wei's intention when looking at her. You won't make it by your means. Just need to pay more attention to his subordinates. Wu Wei nodded. Wu Ju asked with some misgivings. Does this Prince Qian have no friendly intention? There had been lots of extraordinary guys entering the mansion of Crown Prince. But Wu Ju knew Prince Qian was special. The most special about this man was that he was the Prince of Nangong State, who should have the fateful hostility towards Crown Prince. Shang Wuxing kept silent. It was hard to guess the intention of Nangong Qian, but at least he wouldn't be a big threat to her at this moment. What was more, here was the mansion of Crown Prince in Shang State. It would be bad for him if Nangong Qian planned to do something. He was just the Prince of Nangong State, rather than the Emperor. As far as she knew, Nangong State was not so peaceful as it presented. It's time to go to the Imperial Palace to see my eldest sister. Shang Wuxing stood up and left her mansion with Wu Ju. At this moment, Nangong Lian had been hanging out in the mansion of Crown Prince. But she was not an indiscreet girl. She was just strolling in the garden or something, and never got close to the confidential place such as study. Nangong Qian walked in every courtyard of Crown Prince's bedroom palace with the guidance of Chief Hai. He stopped to look at the one in front of him and said to Chief Hai, I will live here. The environment is good. Chief Hai was somewhat hesitant. Nangong Qian looked at the obviously embarrassed Chief Hai and asked discontentedly, can't I? He chose to live in the mansion of Crown Prince, just because of his interests in Crown Prince. Now he even couldn't pick the courtyard he wanted? Nangong Qian was bound to be a bit unhappy. Chief Hai was a little uncomfortable with the suppression of the displeasant atmosphere from Prince Qian, but he still said with a smile, I am really sorry. This one was occupied by the highly skilled doctor just now. He had to nurse Crown Prince's body, so we arranged this courtyard closed to Crown Prince for him. The others are also very good. Will you follow me and have a look? Nangong Qian thought of the highly skilled doctor he saw last night. That was not the first time he saw him, and he had ever asked help from him with his sister's face, but refused by him. Now not only did he save Crown Prince, he even condescended to nurse Crown Prince's body. Nangong Qian felt something to be not right. When Chief Hai didn't know how to solve it, Yi Yizha in white walked out from the courtyard. The two guys looked at each other. One in white like a fallen fairy was in the courtyard, and the other one in purple like a king was outside. Although with different temperament, they were neck and neck. Dr. Yi, Nangong Qian said firstly. After all, they couldn't keep standing here all the time. And he had no interest to look at each other with a man. Surely he would have some patience if it were Prince Shang. Yi Yizha walked out of the courtyard with white gowns, who looked nothing like the hoodlum of last night. Even the expression on his face was light. Prince Qian, although he returned back, he was afraid to go to see Crown Prince due to what happened last night. Now Prince Qian also lived in the mansion of Crown Prince, which made him a little vigilant. After all, Prince Qian was one of the best whether in terms of his appearance, position or his ability. Now he hadn't got the heart of Crown Prince, so he couldn't let others involve in. Therefore, much of the time, not only did women have the sensitive sixth sense, so did men. That was why Yi Yizha resisted Nangong Qian so much. It's said that Prince Qian is fond of this courtyard? Yi Yizha asked with calm look but a cold hum inside his heart. This was the nearest courtyard to Crown Prince's bedroom. He was glad to choose it early. And with the pretext of treating Crown Prince wouldn't be hard on him. Will you give it to me? Nangong Qian asked. But he had no expectation in heart, as he was quite clear that Yi Yizha was not only a highly skilled doctor, but also the richest man in the continent, which was seldom known by others. That was why he didn't take any ultra-action for his rejection to help his sister that year. Daydreaming, Yi Yizhe hated Nangong Qian much more in his heart, but still replied, I have a quiet and beautiful house in the capital city, which is much better than this one. Prince Qian can deign to live there for a while. Will you go with me? Nangong Qian asked discontentedly. How could he not understand that the doctor tried to send him away? But why would he do so? After all, he lived in the mansion of Crown Prince without any bad intention. No, I have to nurse Crown Prince's body. Yi Yizhe refused. Nangong Qian was a little doubtful. It was true that Crown Prince was poisoned. Now that he had been saved by the highly skilled doctor, why he need body conditioning? It was not right. Nangong Qian thought that Prince Shang's poisoning was not so simple. If so, I will live here too. I can have some discussion with you when available. He walked to the other courtyard after finishing his words. Yi Yizhe looked at Prince Qian's back and asked Chief Hai, where is Crown Prince? He was wondering if Crown Prince had found the things he did last night or not. If he had already known it, how should he explain to him? He looked as usual, but with some misgivings in heart. Crown Prince went to the Imperial Palace. Do you want anything? Chief Hai asked. This highly skilled doctor was the one who saved Crown Prince, so Chief Hai was always kind to him, being so afraid that he would be angry and leave here. If so, what about Crown Prince's poisoning? Yi Yizhe shook his head and entered the courtyard, which were full of herbs, even though he just had lived here for a short time. He thought Crown Prince's condition, and took some herbs with the prescription to have the servant to cook them for Crown Prince. At least he could relieve the poison in Crown Prince's body, and then he had to research the antidote wholeheartedly for him. At the time, Shang Wuxin in the Imperial Palace went to the prison that locked Shang Qinmi directly. After all, as the princess of Shang State, Shang Qinmi was not held in Dali Temple, but in one of the prisons in the Imperial Palace. Shang Wuxin came to the prison with Wu Ju unimpededly. No one dared to stop her. Now Crow Prince's momentum was not comparable by any other prince's. What was more, everybody could see Emperor Shang's care for Crown Prince from this matter, which made them dare not to offend him. Shang Wuxin didn't expect to see Leng Yufeng outside the prison. He was in black brocade, with dashing eyebrows, bright eyes, straight nose, healthy tan skin and tall stature, which showed the chill and aggressiveness of a veteran fighter. He frowned when seeing Crown Prince, and showed the stateliness with the oppression automatically. Leng Yufeng frowned not for anything else, but for Crown Prince's carelessness on his body. He still looked very pale. General Leng. Shang Wuxin nodded. Why are you here? She had a good impression on Leng Yufeng, so she talked more with him. Leng Yufeng said without any concealment, Shang Qinmi was locked here. I am guarding here in case she will be grabbed by others before you come. Last night, he and Huan Mosh were looking for the victimizer in the Imperial Palace without rest, and they quickly found that it was Shang Qinmi, due to their cooperation. Although Shang Qinmi had been put in the prison, there were so many dirty things in the Imperial Palace, so he asked Emperor's permission to watch here. He thought Crown Prince would come a few days later. Unexpectedly, he came today. Shang Wuxin was very satisfied with what Leng Yufeng did. She said to him, General Leng, let's go together to have a look. They entered the prison after finishing the talking. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.